Hey, everybody. Apologies for that. I figured out what it was. I accidentally had YouTube playing on my other screen so I could comment, and I never muted it. So that was the brilliance of me messing it up the first time around.
User error echo.
Oh, God, I'm a dope.
You know, technology.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome, Lauren. Welcome back. Been a while.
I know. I've missed you all, and I know I don't know. I haven't even gotten to visit in the comments and stuff because it's just been a busy moment. But I'm happy to have an excuse to be back.
Yeah. So we're happy to have you back, of course. So,
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, we had Greg who said, I'm not going to be around. I said, well, I'd like to do a show. And then I'm like, well, we should ask Lauren. We haven't had Lauren on in a while. And thankfully you're available. And then even more thankfully, you had someone else that could come on. So we'll be getting to them soon. So what are you drinking? What do you have in your glass there, my friend?
About to be in my glass because I got distracted and I didn't pour it. I'm doing wine tonight, which is not typical of me on here. No. I drink all the beverages. I'm very open-minded about tasty things. I have got a menage a trois. I don't know if there's three of us. Is that weird? Way to start? Sorry. But it's a 2018, so it's old.
I'm hoping it's okay.
It's going to be great.
Wine, it should be all right.
Yeah, it is a red. Ooh, let's just pour a full glass. We're going to just really get in here. It's a red blend, so it's all the things. It's going to be great.
Well, let's have a sip and let's hear how it is.
Let's see. It's definitely a red. It's super drinkable. I'm enjoy wine, but I'm not ooh, the tannins and the I'm is it good or is it not good? And I can taste some things, I guess, but it's very drinkable. It's a little tannin sharper-ish than I typically go because I tend to go cabs. And this is a blend, so there's a lot more other things going on. But it's very drinkable and not so heavy, which is probably good for the length of this stream.
That is probably a wise choice, yes.
Wine is heavier, more alcoholic percentage than beer.
Yeah, I've seen someone, though, drink some pretty heavy beers in the past.
Whoever could you be talking about? It's fine.
I don't know. Me, for sure, I've done that before, but yeah.
It's definitely you. But yeah, I'm here for it. Your turn. Tag, you're it. What are you drinking?
Well, I am heavy drinking beer, but I bought this purely for the label, which that's sort of my thing.
It is your jam.
But there's a reason. Bikini Bottom. It's a SpongeBob beer.
I mean, they clearly know who they're marketing to, and it's you specifically.
Yeah. So this is a tropical fruited sour. Sours are not generally my thing, but I had to get it for Bikini Bottom because, God damn it, SpongeBob is. I watch that with my kids. I quote that show all the freaking time, and I just.
It would be wrong not to get it. I do feel like a sour, or maybe some sort of lager would be the vibe for Bikini Bottom. You're not going to get some darker than that, so.
Yeah. So this one, I think. Has the pineapple on it, so I'm assuming it has pineapple in it.
I mean, or it's just the scenery.
It could be both. It would be smart if it was both.
True.
I mean, it's definitely not a reddish color, so I'm guessing it's going to be more in the pineapple vein. But yeah, definitely pineapple. So at least the pineapple wasn't upside down, because then I would have some.
That's a different vibe. That would go closer to the wine label that I have.
which I almost made mention of that, but
Sorry. I mean, someone's going to.
women in wine. Okay.
Okay, that's one a future. Is this a future show pitch?
Yeah, that is actually a really good idea. Thanks, Zach.
Noted. Taking notes. I should get a notepad, actually.
Yeah. So before we get to our guest, I want to talk about one thing here. Are you ready?
As
I cut you off. This is why I don't produce.
it's cool.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about our former guest on the show, Leanne Wong, who was on Tournament of Champions and finished in the semifinals of the entire thing. She did really well. I messaged her on Instagram and congratulate her. And she's in Japan because she opened a restaurant over there, and that was really cool. I mean, having somebody that's that involved and pretty well known was just being able to find it kind of fun. So, but congratulations to her. She finished in the top 4, so good for her. Also, the final 4 on that show were all women. So there's never been a male champion on all 6 seasons of that show. Never once.
It is. So, it's our time.
It's been your time for a long time, to be fair.
I mean, that's fair. It as it should be. But yeah, I remember her from Top Chef season 1.
Yeah,
like way early days, and when you had her on, whenever that was, I have no sense of time.
Couple years ago.
It was super awesome, and it's cool that y'all still stay in touch, and like it's cool to see like someone that you knew from TV and then knew from a separate thing, and then like wait, I know them. Congratulations, that's amazing and so hard. That's like a lot of work and stress, and like the conditions that all of those kinds of like cooking shows put on people are wild, and like. Can't even imagine.
The cool thing about that is they have this thing, like when they go up and they have this thing called a randomizer where they have a spinning wheel where they get proteins, produce, the style you cook in, a piece of equipment you have to use, and then they have like a wild card thing. So jack shit about what you're going to have to do before you start cooking. That's fascinating to me because I am a recipe cooker. So
improv cooking is a totally different thing.
Not me. My wife can do that shit. I cannot. So
we all have our strengths, and it's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, good for her. She's fantastic. And, I'm glad we had her on the show once. So.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah. So, Lauren, why don't you do us the honors of talking about our guest tonight so we can bring her
on? Okay. I'm going to do a brief intro and let our guest also enhance with her own words. But tonight we've invited Julia D. Caneva, and she is somebody that I actually met during the pandemic. And the way that I met her was through another former guest of this show, Jeff Harry. And the three of us actually are playful, fun, curious people. And we decided to get together and have and record conversations about death because it was all around us during the pandemic. And like nobody talks about death here really, like there's not like cultures and traditions and like it's like taboo feelings. We're going to talk about death in a not as scary, less weird, less taboo way, and so we recorded several conversations on that, and that's how I originally met her. But she does a lot for life and death because those are way more intertwined than some people want to think about. And she does that in a lot of wellness things and decluttering because my gosh, material things and digital things. But that's my brief version of Julia. And she's awesome and I'm excited to talk to her. So let's bring her on.
Ta-da! Hey, Julia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like that was such a beautiful intro. I'm like, what would I even add to that?
So we have to ask, what are you imbibing this evening? What?
So
tickling your fancy tonight.
I am fully on the personalized mug train of turmeric ginger tea. Personal favorite.
I love a good spice.
Yeah, that's going to be the vibe over here.
Yeah. My wife will do the ginger tea like regular, but the turmeric ginger is usually like if she's not feeling well or something like that. But
that's fair. I'm feeling great.
You just want it because you like it.
I just like an earthy tea.
So let's talk a little bit about your first one. We talked about what Lauren said about your conversations with Jeff. We had Jeff on the show before, and that was lots of fun.
So excellent.
And but man, I'd love to hear about how those conversations went, and we could tie that into how you do your business and stuff.
Yeah, we had such a fun time.
People
are always like very skeptical about that, but really talking about death can be really freeing in a lot of ways, and really connective in a lot of ways, and also it's so wonderful to be in a conversation with people where you can just be like, I have something that sounds kind of stupid, or I have a question that I have never asked someone. And like, that's such a joy. So I feel like our conversations were a blast, and it was such a highlight for me, especially during lockdown, to have these like really life-giving chats with them. And that was, just exciting. Yeah.
As a fun fact note for this, fun fact, a fact that might be fun for you. If you wanna like fly on the wall for those conversations, we did record them and then did like nothing proactively with them for like a year or two. But they do, I don't know if they live anywhere for you, but I do have them on a YouTube channel, which like I don't have subscribers, but they live there, and I can share a playlist at some point if that's helpful to anybody.
That would be helpful. We can put that up.
Yeah, I was like, I might have messaged it to you. I'm going to do it again and find it.
Yeah, we'll find it. Yeah. I was always like, well, if one of us is going to put it up, I'll just send people to your videos.
Yeah. And I think that I assumed, because Jeff was doing so much, that he was going to be the one who was like, none of us did it. So, we really prioritized. But we have a playlist of like, I think we met like 6 or 7 times over several months, like every other month or something for a while. And we just have like different topics and things that were coming up related to death, dying, what that means for life. And I'm going to bring up the thing that Julia brought to those conversations that I also now have somewhere in my new place. I don't know where. But there was a thing that we used as prompts called the death deck.
Yeah.
Do you have it nearby? Do you have the prop?
In my drawer. I'm here, I swear. The death deck.
And it's
okay, that's cute.
It's very cute. And again, non-scary, playful. It's technically like a game, but it feels very prompty.
It has a game structure, but everyone I know that uses it prefers it as just like prompt
cards, like conversation topics. Yeah. But it had things like it would have like a pose a question related to death, and maybe it would just be open-ended, or it'd have like a multiple choice answer. And so it was really interesting to just think about like things like, if you could know exactly when you were gonna die, would you want to know? And like, I think that that one was multiple choice, where it was like, definitely, absolutely not, or like, only if it were within like 24 hours, or only if it was like within a week or something like that. And then we were like, oh my God, would I want to know? I feel like that's worse. I don't know. So it was a really interesting way to not be like forced to talk about death when it's like forced upon you, and just like talk about it.
Yeah, good comment there, Daniel. The terror movie or Final Destination.
I mean,
yeah, it doesn't have to be scary. I think.
I mean, but death in like horror movies and stuff, always very scary.
Totally scary. Murder mysteries. I mean, you're like sweating, and you're like. The reality is, it doesn't have to be scary. Yeah.
So, what was the impetus for you guys to decide to do that? Like, I mean, besides COVID, you said it was COVID time, so maybe that was the impetus, but like.
Yeah, I mean, I had just done, at that point in time, I had done a death doula training through Going with Grace, and I don't remember oh, you know what? I do remember. The Good Life Project is where I met Jeff, and I hosted a Zoom death chat for that community. And then I had just straggling people be like, do you want to talk about death? And I was like, yeah, I hosted a whole Zoom chat about it. And so then Jeff was like, he was one of the only people that came to the one time. And then he was like, wait, I have a friend, Lauren. So I think that's how the web expanded.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we had Jeff on. Was Lauren's like, we should bring my friend Jeff on, and I was like, okay. And then I saw some of the videos, and I was like, holy shit, we need to have that guy on. Jesus.
And I'm so glad that he was on, and also so sorry at the same time.
He was like not in a bad way, but like manic on there. He was having such a good
chaotic,
time.
like
and
lovingly chaotic in a charming way most of the time.
Yeah. So, but that was fun, and I'm glad you guys got to do that. So,
yeah.
So Julie, sorry, Lauren, let me just ask one more, and then we'll go to you.
It's totally fine.
So you talk about how you had cancer at a young age. Is that was really drew you to start understanding and trying to really speak about, think about death? Can you talk about that, please?
Totally. Yeah. I think as a kid, I always had what people would have called like a morbid interest in death, even though I'm like, I think it's just a healthy, normal interest in death. But okay, cool. But I stuffed that away pretty quickly. And I got diagnosed with cancer at 29 in 2018. And yes, that was totally, if that doesn't slap you in the face, I was like, I'm not ready to be a dying 30-year-old. Like my prognosis was good, like it wasn't super grim, but I was like, the veil has been lifted. And then I was like, that's all I want to talk about all the time now, because everything in my life relates to it. Like, if you really look at death like face on, you can't help but have it reflect on the way that you live your life. And that's how I kind of looped. I've gone through many different iterations of my business since then, and kind of this like neuro complex web of things that I think is all related. But at its core, like, I just really enjoy helping people declutter their lives, because I was actually working as a professional home organizer before I got diagnosed with cancer, and I was really loving the kind of transformative relief that getting organized can have on your life. So it just was a very natural kind of roll into end of life planning, which looks exactly like digital disaster preparedness, which is what I've been doing lately, especially after the LA fires. I live in Los Angeles, so people are they have their little windows into death and dying, and I'm just kind of there to meet them when they get there.
That's so inviting.
You're
not that scary.
Try not to be, yeah. Although I have to say, I have an identical twin sister, and we worked at a summer camp one year, and one kid was trying to explain how he could tell us apart, and he told me that my face was scarier. And I was like, no, actually, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like, okay, maybe offline later, I'm going to need a side-by-side so I can assess your scariness compared to your sister's face.
That's fair. Oh, so good. So a tad scary over here.
Just enough scary.
Inviting, hopefully.
Yeah, like the cute, creepy death. It's cute, but like,
yeah,
it's a little scary.
Like death, but make it whimsical.
Yeah. That's the new tagline. Death, but make it whimsical.
Yeah, totally.
I have kind of a question related to like the cancer time and like opening into like, okay, death stuff. I feel like when you haven't had that situation, you're like, man, I can't even imagine. Like you try to, but it's different when it's real. And I feel like Doug had a version maybe of like heart attack time where you're like, no, like we're mortal. And like, was there something that, because so much of like life and death are intertwined, like was there something that seemed really jarring or obvious or like seems simple? I'm just giving you options. Like, I don't know which option, but like that made you change something like after sort of that moment, like not that it was like a very clear crossroads, but kind of maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it sort of, on one hand, it kind of like built up because I was the one that found the tumor in my neck, but it took me a little while to get into the doctor because I didn't think to say, oh, I think I might have cancer, because you don't, anyway, it's all a whole thing. And yeah, when I stopped working for a little while right around my surgery, and then I was like, oh, the birds are chirping. Like, have they always been chirping? And I was like, the sun feels so nice. Like mindfulness. Yeah. And I think it really is like cultivating presence is then what my felt experience of like, wait, I'm here now. So like I should just try to do things now that matter to me. I mean, there's a slippery slope there because then you sort of run really far down the rabbit hole of like not wanting to work. And oh yeah.
That is great.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I love
it's true.
a
They are
account.
together. She's my older sister. She would know. That really made me laugh. But yeah, I think there's just like presence. So even if you haven't had like a life-changing diagnosis, anything, even like almost getting hit in a car accident kind of thing where you like, you have that moment where you're like, whoa, everything could have been really different.
Yeah.
And you sort of snap back into your brain is like, okay, just going to push that aside so I can get on with my day. But if you can like stay in that space for just a little bit more time, not in a traumatic way, obviously follow what feels good, but that's where the like, I don't know, gratitude, appreciation, that you might want to change your life kind of moment, I think happens. I don't know if that made sense, but
yeah, I mean,
certainly
that
does.
actually it makes sense, a lot of sense to me, just because I feel like, and that's really hard now because everything moves so fast, and like not just in an instant gratification way, but just like news happens so fast, and like things are cut. Like we have access to information, and people can contact me at any time with phones and text message and DMs. That like to actively try to make space to be like, what has happened or is happening or could have happened. Reflection isn't like a thing that a lot of people make time or space for. And in a separate way, I like practiced some reflection like a couple of years ago in like a very measured way. And I was like, I hate how much it helps. Only because you're like, no, I really should make time for this. And it's like, it's useful.
Yeah, there's that one like sort of memey thing where somebody goes, I hate that I have to go out for my taking a stupid walk for my mental health walk. And it works.
Yes, that where you're like, I hate that this is helpful because I don't have time and I don't want to do it, but it's good for me.
Totally.
Yeah, it's so really real. It's really hard to find presence. I mean, like you said, like what Lauren was saying, with like your constant access to everything. And I mean, people have constant access to you. It's really difficult, especially in, our society values being busy and productive all the time. And it's really hard to kind of get, I especially know that is a real issue for me because I grew up, I'm 53. Like my parents were very much, we need to be productive and do stuff and be busy. And I struggle to just not do things. It sounds dumb and it sounds weird, but I really do struggle. I feel like I'm being lazy and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't sound dumb or weird, as it turns out. Like, actually, I think that's what the rest of us are struggling with too, because it's just so deeply conditioned and it's everywhere. And like the pace of work and like life and how expensive everything is, you're like, how do you get off the moving train? Like I don't know. It's really difficult. I mean, I've done it, but it's also like you kind of have to have like one arm on and one arm off and woof. Yeah, Zach, I feel that. The having a break. And then you're just like, and now I hate it even more. Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Like, I have to keep doing this.
They don't rejuvenate you. They just like make you see what you could be doing instead. And you're like, nope, this sucks even harder.
So much.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about presence. Like, I think about the things that people love to do that are often in kind of like maybe to an unhealthy degree, but a lot of them end up touching on some kind of presence. So people, let's say surfing. So surfers are like, they're obsessed with surfing. Like, obviously there's a magic to being kind of one with a wave. And I think some of it's just because when you go out on your surfboard, you cannot bring your phone with you. No one can call you. People aren't tapping you on the shoulder. Like there's just this disconnection from too much input. And then you can kind of just focus on the task in hand, which is like following this natural rhythm, which I think is really beautiful. So I'm like, I think presence doesn't always have to look like calm and quiet. It can, and maybe that's where people like to find it. But there's also like mountain biking, or I don't know, playing with your kids, like playing with a dog. Yeah. Presence.
There's to that point, there's the place that, like, if I need to think things through, or I'm really trying to sort out something, I take a shower because I can't take a phone in there. I'm not, there's nothing. And it's because we're all so pretty well connected to our phones, especially, and I work in IT, so I'm on computers all the time. So I'm connected in a lot of ways that I wish I wasn't. But the best place I can go to think is I will go in the shower and I will just put the shower on boiling hot, because that's how I like my showers. And then I just sit and I'm just like going through all the stuff in my head without the distractions of everything else. And it's weird, but I think that's the common thread. You're, really just disconnecting is, if I like taking hikes, but I'm not hiking to, get someplace real fast. I'm like, I want to go and I want to stop and listen and look at mushrooms, because I think mushrooms are fascinating. And like, that's like one of my happy places for that too. So I don't know, you just got to find it where you can find it, I suppose, which is exceedingly hard in our culture. So
it is hard.
I want to ask that then, because like Doug, you said like one of your go-to maybe like accessible versions is like go shower, because like that's where I have to exist by myself. Julia, do you have a go-to thing that you like to do to get that?
Presence. Yeah. Well, I really love meditation. There's so many different kinds of meditation. It's like when people say they don't like meditation, or quote, they're not good at meditation, I'm like, you don't have to be good at it. You just need to find the one that feels like you can be with it a little bit. And there's so many different kinds. So it's kind of like saying you don't like curry and you're like, but have you tried? There's like every subset of Japanese curry and Indian curry and Thai curry. Like there's something for everybody in my mind. So
that's true.
I really love meditation, but over the last couple years, I'm the co-founder of another company called Elemental, and we do nature-centered wellness practices. And some of what we lean into a lot, and my co-founder does forest therapy, like forest bathing. So it's an ancient Japanese practice of mindful connection to the outdoors normally, like you'd be in a forest. But a lot of people don't have access to a forest. So we've been trying to adapt the practices to bring them into like modern everyday life. And that's something that I've really enjoyed getting in touch with, is connecting with other than humans. So like plants or bugs or rocks or dirt, like every little bit around you. Like there's a plant in the corner here. Sometimes, and now I don't think it's weird, I'll ask the plant questions in my head and see if it gives me an answer. It doesn't always give me an answer, but like it makes me sound crazy. Not out loud. Well, you could do it out loud. It makes me feel funny saying it out loud. It feels less weird somehow to have it in my head, but maybe that's the opposite for other people.
I mean, like some people like ask themselves questions out loud to nobody else nearby.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do that.
I feel like that's normal. Yeah.
Yeah, you could totally talk to a plant.
Yes.
My wife talks
to
her
like,
plants all the time. Gardens all the time. So.
Yeah. Do they have names?
Like that?
Would you name a plant, or it's just like the plant that you happen to be talking to, or would you like name it like a pet?
She doesn't name them. She just like, oh, how are you guys? You guys growing good? Looks like you're doing well. Like she's just like giving them like a little pep talk. It's really cute.
Oh, I feel like I do stuff like that where I'm just like, I'm doing the best. How are you? Do you need more sun? I don't know.
So real.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe you'll get an answer. Keep asking.
That's true. In the plant world, less so for me.
Yeah. Don't have a green thumb there, Lauren?
I
I don't.
okay, so like your plant in the corner, I'm gonna just assume that it's flourishing because I can't see it.
It's doing okay. I can.
No pressure. Didn't want to like put you on the.
Eh?
Oh, it's like tall
That's
and
doing
big and
pretty
like
well.
real.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I bought
that
it when it
sounds
was
good.
tall, so like I don't know.
Okay.
how much that
You're like, I
counts.
can't take
Just
credit for that.
maintaining.
Maintaining
Yeah.
that's important because that doesn't always work with plants for me. I like plants, they're cool, and I want them to survive. And I don't have enough time, energy, interest to like if I try the like first serve like more water, less water, more sun, less sun. If it's not any of those, I'm like, nah, I can't. I don't even know what this plant is called. How do I research? I can't. I don't know. And so I have a baseline of like plant knowledge, but that's pretty much it.
There is an app you can take like pictures of the plant and it'll tell you what the plant is and how to care for it.
Oh, maybe that would help me in my greenery situation. So can I look this up? I'm gonna look this up.
Proving a brown thumb. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I don't think it's called brown thumb, but
I have no
It'd be
idea.
much easier to find.
yeah. Well, Joel uses it for certain things, like if we're out in the woods or something. She's like, I don't recognize that, and she'll take a photo of it.
Like,
And be
oh,
able to
oh,
look
that's
and
kind of
figure out
cool.
what it is.
That's cool.
And she does that with mushrooms too. Like I said, we love
Oh.
mushrooms. So.
And you know, safety.
They're a fascinating organism. They're huge. They can span like the biggest living organism on the planet is a mushroom mycelium patch.
Yeah, it's humans just think we're so special.
And they communicate, and it's been proven that they communicate with like trees and plants around and all that stuff. So it's really, we just don't understand their language. Like, and we don't understand any language of any other animal. So yeah, we're limited in that way.
We're trying though.
Yeah,
We'll find some presents and then chat with a squirrel and see what happens.
So okay. So going back to the thing, just because you talk about talking to your plant in your head, is that a version? Just because like I know I lived in a more city-esque place previously, and like there aren't forests away. So like if you do want a nature, how do you like baby nature?
Yeah, well, I mean that's what we've been exploring at Elemental is like, well, actually, you're part of nature. Like humans and nature are not separate. Which we have forgotten. And so actually connecting with your own like senses is a practice of connecting to nature. And if you really want to, you could also do Lauren, you've got a fan club.
Hey, we all love Lauren. So.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
you all too.
Yeah. You can get like a bowl of water or like hang out with a candle flame and just like watch it, you know, like little bits of elements that are probably, and every single thing in your life is made out of something that came from nature. Even if you're like, oh, my AirPod case, like it feels like, oh, it's so shiny and plasticky. And you're like, but at some point it was like a plant or a rock or a mineral, you know, like.
It's true. Okay, so like expanding the acceptance of like what counts or doesn't count, and like it's all just connect in a way. And I actually really like what you just said too about like the flame too, because when you talk about meditation, I am one of those people who's like, I feel like I'm bad at meditation, but like mindfulness I understand, but like the like really like the quieting your thoughts, and like the thing that I think of the most is like the body scan things, where they're just like sit still and like feel your feet on the floor and like feel your shins and feel your knees. I was like, everything's itchy and I'm thinking about it so hard and it's like not helpful. I like need like a more active mindfulness. Like I could stare at like waves or water moving.
Meditation.
Walking, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, walking meditation. Yeah.
But like I can like sit there and like stare at like a flame or fire or like water moving. Like that I like don't have a problem with. But when it's like making me focus very specifically on other things, it's my brain doesn't want to do what I'm being told to do.
Yeah. That's normal though too. And your nervous system has to be kind of on board with whatever the pace is. So sometimes if you sit down and you're listening to a meditation, you just want to like crawl out of your skin. That's usually a signal that your nervous system's like either running a lot busier than the pace that is. You know, there's just a mismatch. So just looking for the thing that feels like, okay, I can do this.
Okay.
Like if you feel your feet on the floor, but only when you're walking between your office and the kitchen.
So doable. That's such a short walk.
You're like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
read
but all
a-
you need is one step to be mindful.
I did read a book by I'm gonna butcher his name, Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a
Mhm.
Buddhist monk, and he wrote like a whole section of one of his book is just on walking meditation, which was like it's very simple stuff. But the problem is it's so simple. You go, that's so simple. Why didn't I just think of that? And it's because your brain's going at 5,000 miles an hour all the time, and it's hard to slow it down to think of the simple things. So it's sometimes reading those books is weirdly meditative in its own right. Like
Yeah.
just because it's very simple and like the language is soft and it just is like very soothing and calming. Even in reading a book about it, like I don't know, that's my experience with it anyway. I can't speak for anybody else, but
Me too. I'll back that up.
So then, how do you go? So you have this stuff with the death stuff, and then you also do stuff like holistic things and like digital decluttering and like where does that all how does that all tie in together? Like
Explain
that's
your
like
web
a
to
that's not
us.
even yeah
You're
because
like, catch me up a little bit.
Zach said this, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's right.
Fun and stressful.
Both
Yeah,
things,
it's so real. Well, I think so. Like I said before, I was doing home organizing before I got diagnosed. And so I was like, I love getting things in order. But I also have a past career as a web designer and developer. And so I had a lot of computer skills. So I started doing a lot more digital organizing for people, and it was really stressing them out. So if I'm waltzing in and saying, well, cancer showed me that I want to be more intentional with my life and I'd love to support other people in being intentional. And they're like, I'd love to do that too, but I'm losing my mind about how disorganized my Google Drive is. And I have photos from my mom who died like 10 years ago that she sent me on Dropbox, and I can't get rid of Dropbox because I can't download it. And it's like, got it. I understand that is very stressful. Yeah, because it just, we've been living in a digital world for so long now that all of the like deferred maintenance stuff has just snowballed, and now there's so many different systems.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I know how to do this, and if this is the first step for them to get closer to the life that they're like excited about living, then I'd love to help support them in that, because then I think you can get into holistic health coaching and some other like behavioral changes that are kind of not the norm in our very unwell society. So yeah, it feels like the first step is digital decluttering, and shout out to end of life planning, which is literally digital decluttering. Also,
And these days, yes.
Yeah, it is. And like the art of Swedish death cleaning. I think there's a book by that name, and there might even be a TV show.
I mean, probably these days. There's like something. Everything has a TV show.
It's
There's so many streaming services. That's got to be somewhere.
Yeah, we're like, I think it's on there somewhere. But the idea is that you're older and you're getting rid of your things because you realize that when you die, other people have to deal with it. And so you're just trying to like divest all of your stuff. But I'm also like, shouldn't we all be doing that all the time? Because I'm not even like, I could die in 1 minute from now. I don't, by all accounts, I won't, but I could. So maybe I should have, thought about all my stuff before
Like
that
already.
So yeah, I'm like, start with getting your inbox cleaned up, then get to your photos, and then go to your other stuff. And yeah, that's how, to me, that's kind of how the web fits together. I know it's a little amorphous.
Well, isn't it something like it almost feels like it's too big? Like I'll use the analogy of video games. If I do something like an open world game, I am like decision paralysis all over the place. I can't do anything.
Totally.
Just make me just go in a straight line somewhere. I'm great. But like I could see if you are like, for instance, I had a family member who passed away within the past couple months, but they were a hoarder, like a physical hoarder.
Yeah.
And I went down to help my parents with this house a little bit. My word. Like, but I think you just get to a point and you're just like, I just just like, what do you do? So I could bet you some of your clients are just like that. They're like, where the hell do I start? There's so much. Like, I can imagine.
Totally. And to our point of no one has time, in my mind, the number one ingredient for getting organized is time. And that's one of the things that most people don't have. So even if you have a huge desire to be organized, time is not in your favor. But that's why I think having someone help you with it is so, like, just to come in and be a catalyst and be like, we can do this. We got it. And like finally get it done.
Like they were saying too, where it's just like we have like so much stuff and so little time, and trying to make those choices is really challenging. Or like, you know, the urgency of like, oh, but also like there's a leak in the house. Like that's clearly a priority, and like everything else is later. And like we think it's going to be later.
Yeah. And a lot of the times it is later. Like for most people, they put it off and it's fine because it just works out fine. It's just then the moments when you put it off and then it's not fine and you're like, oh my goodness, why did I not do that when everything was fine? Like, ugh.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a quick side note here. So I'm going to open my second beer, and I'm opening this because Lauren was Googling this earlier when I got my beers today. South of DC Cream Ale. So this is from a black-owned brewer that we're friends with. And they finally you're able to order it nationwide now. So I did that. This is from Liquid Intrusion Brewing out of in Maryland. I'm not exactly sure of the town, but they're outside of DC, like not quite in Alexandria. It's a little farther out from that. But you know, they're a small brewery, and I want to support that, especially as a black-owned business. So I'm definitely going to try to support that. And they're friends of ours on top of it. So look at the head on that, as I normally do my super heavy pour. But you see how nice and clear it looks. So like that's a pretty good start for a cream ale.
Cheers.
So
I got to know about this one because I do love it. I feel like there's I just don't see them, but like cream ales, I'm like, ooh, that looks good, and like I don't always see them. How's it?
What's cool about cream ales is they look so clear, like they'd be like a light beer, but the creaminess part of it is actually what makes it so delicious. Because it's almost like a cream soda that's a beer in a way. Like there's like a little sweetness to it, but they have 3 beers that are staples, and I bought all 3 of them, and this is one of them, and this is just superb, and
like very clearly why it's a staple.
Yeah, and so that one is super good. They got their lemongrass saison, which, you know, my wife was like, ooh, a lemongrass. And then she was like, is this an NA beer? Because Jill can't really handle alcohol as well anymore because, hello, menopause. And so it's been rough on that. Not rough, but she just realizes. So she'll drink NAs, or I'll have a cocktail. Beer just is difficult for her body to kind of handle. So, so that was a side note. Anyway, that is delicious. 5% ABV. My first one was 4.5. So for me, those are low ABV beers. So
you're sneaking.
Yeah.
That sounds tasty, and I may have to go look into that later.
Yeah, this is their Prince George's County, Maryland. That's
perfect.
Thank you, JHG. Appreciate love the research folk on this.
I know
they're always on top of like we have the facts.
I love that. Like Daniel and JHG are usually like, hey, it's this thing, and you're just like, okay, great. They're like our encyclopedias. They just come in and like fill us in.
Thank you. There are fact checkers on the live stream. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out later. That sounded very tasty. What were we talking about? The digital.
We were going through decluttering and things like that. So just the idea of like, I sidetracked us there, so I apologize. But you know, just the idea of decluttering. So if you start with the digital decluttering, what is not to give away your trade secrets?
Oh, please, no. This is not proprietary.
This is like, you start with digital decluttering. How do you progress that to like get along to and eventually end of life preparedness, or like digital disaster preparedness you mentioned earlier? Like, how do you I could see the timeline from digital decluttering to digital disaster preparedness, but to go from that to end of life planning is a little bit, maybe I'm not seeing a straight line.
Well, I'll give you the through line. So I actually think digital disaster preparedness is a good place to start because you're thinking about making sure all of your important documents are digitized, like birth certificates, death certificates, like, that they're at least in a folder somewhere so that if, heaven forbid, there's a fire, that it's somewhere that's not just the piece of paper. Backups are your friend. And then having a proper backup system for your whole computer. A plus, those I think are good places to start because it's sort of like there's a finite amount of, you have a passport and an ID and a birth certificate and a death certificate. Like there's just not that many forms at some point. So I like to start there, and that's kind of the disaster prep.
Doug has more forms.
I would like to say that I had to get a real ID last week, and I had to bring like 5 forms of identification. It was nuts. I had to bring a passport, my driver's license, my passport card, an electric bill, and I was like, I have a driver's license. I'm not
like I have the same exact experience.
Oh. I think I got lucky, and I had to my license had to be renewed in like July of 2020, and I was like, well, I'm not driving anywhere, and like I'm not going to a DMV, and they're not open, so like there was some like leeway with DMV stuff. But then like the following year in 2021, it was finally time to do it, and real IDs were happening at the time, and because they were like kind of behind and like moving things along, it was way easier for me. I'm real, and I can prove that it's me, but I didn't have to do that many things.
It was.
I had to do a lot. I got mine in 2017 because it was after I got married and changed my name, and then they were like, "You get a real ID," and I was like, "Cool." And then they were like, "You have to bring everything." I was like, "Wow." Thankfully, I have it in one envelope together. But that makes it easy.
You're planned,
organized, and then it's easy to scan everything from your phone from there. Yeah, it's so real though. Well, no pun intended, and I'm glad that you don't have to do that again.
Well, the only reason I did it was because I had to fly at the end of May. And,
yeah, that's a good.
Like at May 7th, they're going to be like, "Oh, you need a real ID." What I didn't realize, I could use my passport card, and my passport is also an identification. But I said, with everything going on, I want no nonsense. I want no opportunity for anything weird to happen. Totally. I'm just getting it, and I'm covered all my bases.
I had the same issue, or the same like thought process of like, oh no, because my license had to be renewed this year, and that was in April. And I had already had the real ID thing, but it just had to be renewed. And then the timing of how long it took to get to me in the mail versus like I got it like this week, but I was I'm gonna be traveling in the first week of May, and I was like, what do I do? Like it's expired, but I have like the thing that says that it's a like temporary permit. I guess I could bring my passport. Like, do I want to be carrying with more paperwork? And I was just like, ugh, paperwork.
Yeah.
You're like, womp,
okay, so that's
and humans made it all up. Yeah. Disaster preparedness. So scan everything. Get it in order. And then I think it's easy to go from there to the leap to end of life planning from there is literally, do you have a will? Yes or no? Do you have an advance directive? Yes or no? Do you have any other end of life wishes that you would like people to know? Yes or no? And you kind of just add it to the mix. And I'd say that like lightly. It's not a small endeavor to put those things into paper form, but it's not that many things. Yeah. And then I think it's easier to get into, oh my God, my Google Drive is a mess, and I have 1,000 other things floating around, and my desktop is just all, like
icons of screenshots and downloads.
No, my desktop is as clean as I can possibly get it at all times.
If you're in IT, then it definitely is. Yeah.
Like, are you also a zero inbox person?
Yes. If I get an inbox and it says one message, nope. I'm going there and I'm clearing that. Maybe I can delete it. Maybe I can't. Maybe I need to use it. But I'm making sure I don't have a notification. Notifications, I am not super anal retentive, but notifications I have to clear those. Like it's.
I am not a zero inbox person. I have like email apps on my phone, but I turned off notifications for those. And also, it's sometimes my it's how I to-do list some things. So like
Mhm.
it might be red, but it's hanging out in there. I feel like
Okay, but can you
I keep
find
getting
it?
rashes.
Can you find
Yeah,
it?
well,
That's the other.
how
That's
many
the other thing.
emails?
I do a load of folders, like my phone. All right, this goes
Oh, I have
here, and then I
folders as
go.
well. Mhm.
But I organize the shit out of that, so I know where stuff is, because otherwise it would just be
That's true.
chaos.
Yeah,
All
Oh
right,
my
2,000
God,
this is
PhD.
that's gonna make my eyeball twitch. PhD, don't do that.
That is many.
I'm sweating. Although I once did a sort on an email inbox and an AOL account that I didn't know
Oh,
still was an active service provider. They had 150,000 emails, and I sorted all of them.
just like one by one marching down,
I mean, the easiest thing to do is make an
like
archive
searching.
folder by
Oh yeah.
year. And
Oh,
then as you get to the closer years, then get a little more granular based on like person.
okay. I appreciate that. That
Mhm.
like not cheating, but like tip of like it's too much. Like no,
Yeah,
2015.
perfect. Sold.
Great.
Because otherwise, like, too granular. There's not enough
Yeah.
time in life for that.
That's true.
What?
That's hard though when you want to like be able to. You're like no, but I want to be able to tag and like search and find easy, and you're like you're doing too much.
Totally.
Do you have a what is like a I'm going to use the word hack, which I think is kind of shitty, but what is
Buzzwordy.
like something that you do that you're like, this is just if you do one thing, this will simplify things more than you realize. Is there a
Oh, like
one
a
thing
really
that you can,
small, helpful
yeah,
stuff.
really small, helpful tidbit that would help individuals?
Well, I do think that people don't go into their email folders as much as they think they might. And so if you have a Gmail account in particular, I really like the archive feature because you just archive it. And then if you're searching for it, like the things that I put in folders are groups of emails that I wouldn't necessarily know to be searchable under this one category. Like they're all related to meditation, and it might be from random people that I want to make sure to
Mhm.
keep under meditation. But if there's like a particular friend who I'd be like, I would just go back and search from Lauren,
Like from the
then the
name.
archive is super helpful because that's all that it's made for. So I feel like people are underutilizing the archive feature. Loving that we've got an archive fan in the
That's actually fair because I feel like I
Mhm.
do want, I mean, especially I own my own business. So like I
Mhm.
have a work stuff, but it's like all up to me and whatever I want to do. And it's like
Yeah.
I have a hard time wanting to archive something if it's not in a like type of folder.
Yep.
And I also use the like searchable feature sometimes of just like search for the name of the person or the topic or something like that because it's probably in there. But like
Mhm.
when I archive something, like I want it to go somewhere specific, but maybe I need to let that go.
And
Let it go,
even
let it
more
go.
fun fact, yeah, let it go. The folders in, for instance, in Gmail are no longer even actual folders. They're
Nope.
literally just your archive and their tags in
Oh, but
your
they're
archive.
tagged. Yeah. Because you
And
can
Yep.
put
so
it, you
Yep.
can tag it into multiple folders, which is a thing that I do.
exactly. But if that can help you let go of the idea that when it goes into the archive, it's not just going into the
That's true.
abyss,
Like it's not
you were
anywhere else.
already doing it anyway.
Okay. That's okay. I accept this. It's like you were just doing it and being tricked by labels.
Yes. Because they were like, well,
Yeah,
people are used to this.
That's true.
and
That
they
feels
just put it
better.
all in one bucket and then just like, we'll just put, they're basically tagging it so that you can
Yeah.
reference
Which
it
is,
that way
I
if
mean,
you
it's
want
a
to.
folder, but like more useful.
Well, I will
In
tell you as an IT person what I think that
Yeah.
is. I think that just they know if you have extra folders and they have to organize the folders for you on top of it, that's extra overhead for them. So if they could
Mm.
just make it one where it goes in one bucket and then they just tag it, that's much less stuff for them to organize and work with. So it's definitely a cost cutting feature for sure, as if Google needs to cut costs. But
But the idea that
Spreadsheets.
it's like everything is you're already archiving everything, at least in Gmail. I don't know about Outlook or what other people use.
the only thing that's grumpy about Outlook is their search feature is just terrible. But
I feel like a lot. I don't want to hate on them, but like I feel like I've not had any quality experiences with Outlook.
Their calendaring is excellent. And if you're
Okay.
trying
Yes,
to
the calendar is
collaborate
awesome.
with like teams of people, excellent. But the
Okay.
search
Yeah.
function,
Like
as
the
you would
emailing
hope
and
with
searching
Google's
function.
search function, that's what they pride themselves on. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
But I do like
Yeah.
the idea that like, okay, like I'm archiving already, so like it's fine to do that without making a thing because like I'll be able to find it.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure you will.
Don't
And I will say the
do
problem
that.
is like for me is like because it specifically work email, like I work with really specific things. And sometimes
Yeah.
those things are cross-platform and I don't know exactly how it was labeled. And that if I don't organize into a folder, I will be just lost trying to find it. And some of the stuff goes back 10 years for what I do. And like I need to be able to find it. And if I don't, then I'm gonna be starting from square one. And the problem is some of the labeling and the naming isn't great. So that's just work shit. So love talking about that.
No,
Let's
it's
move
so
on.
real. My husband works in IT and like back-end infrastructure, and there's
Oh, then he
nothing
definitely
if
gets it.
not naming conventions.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, if you're doing infrastructure is a whole different beat. I do software stuff. So like that's a
But
different
still,
beast. Like,
yeah.
yeah. All right. So I would like to talk a bit about, you said about end of life planning. So like
Mhm.
my wife and I did do a will this past year. The only thing is we
Great.
have not, unfortunately, we did not get it notarized yet, which we have to do. And we keep forgetting
It's
to do.
hard.
So I need to do that.
Yeah.
But the thing is like so here my goal is when I go, I want my
Mhm.
kids not to have to pay for anything, or they're going to have to do some work because that's just how it fucking works. But if I can make the amount of work they have to do the least possible amount of work, that is what I want to do. I want to make sure they don't have to pay. I talked to my wife, like I would like to have a natural burial where you just put me in a box
Mhm.
and put me in the woods somewhere. I don't want a fucking casket. I'm not religious. I don't want any of the services. Maybe a member service where everybody just gets together and talks and hangs out. I don't care if they talk about me or not. I'm going to be dead. So what do I
Totally.
care?
That's the
Yeah.
thing we talked about in our chats.
Yes.
Like it's not really about us
So,
at that point.
Yeah, it's for them.
so there's a variety of ways to do this, right? So there's a trust, there's different kinds of trust. Do you know stuff about trust, and can you explain the difference of those if you do? If you don't, that's totally okay. I just wasn't sure if you did or not.
I won't claim to, although I do think I have a solid understanding of it because I'm not a lawyer. I hesitate
This
to
is
Yeah, you have to
specify things.
put that caveat there. This is not legal.
Yeah, well, just because I want people to do things that make sure that what they want to have happen is actually happening for them. But it's true, there are a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And there are a lot of really helpful like a PDF online, like not even on my own website, just in the greater scheme of the world that can give you a really clear idea of like, if I want X to happen, then I need to set it up like this. If I want Y to happen, I need to set it up like this. And thankfully, there are only really like two major categories where the legalities come in, which is like wills and trusts. So like finances and property, and everything else is just whatever you want. So once
Yeah.
you wade through that, then you're very close to being done with all of the hard stuff. So that's my slightly evasive answer. I just don't want to give anyone any incorrect
Yeah.
ideas about stuff.
That's totally fine. Like if you don't want to make sure if you're not an expert, you don't want to proclaim to be one, and you definitely don't want to give somebody
Amen.
advice if you're not qualified. I wouldn't either, but it's just something where I didn't know if you had some. Like I was fortunate enough through my work, I would pay a little a month, like a couple bucks, and I would get like Met Legal or something like that to do stuff. So I got my will stuff done for free, but that was just a very rudimentary trust I set up. But I want to do something where, like my parents have what's called an unbreakable trust. And unfortunately, my dad had a super terrible experience with his two sisters with the will of his parents' estate. It was awful. The two sisters my dad was the executor, and the two sisters just like undermined the shit out of him and did all kinds of.
Oh no.
It was bad. So
it's so stressful.
I would like to think my kids wouldn't do that because they're all pretty chill, but like People do
Totally.
weird shit. And I just want to
Mhm.
make sure like I said, I just want to make it as easy for them as possible. I don't want them to have to worry about things like, you see people like, you'll see videos and TikToks where people like, my parents died and I had to come up with $15,000 for a funeral. And I'm like, I don't
Totally.
want my kids having that. I want everything taken care of as much as possible so they don't have to do shit. So
Yeah, perfect. I did claim to not know anything, so that's good. You can follow my advice about digital decluttering. That'll work. Yeah. The legalities.
and Lauren, do you mind if I go on one more thing here? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go for it.
This one might take a bit. So the reason
I'm
is
excited.
I
Your
mentioned I mentioned to Julia that I had some real interest in the death care portion of what you talk about with your business, which it's this particular business. If it's the last thing I do, which
Mhm.
I think it's great that you're doing this. It reminds me a bit of, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Order of the Good Death, which was Caitlin
Yeah.
Doherty. Like
Mhm.
I saw her a few years ago. She's fascinating because she's like a coroner and like talks about like different things and how we shouldn't be afraid of death because death is like the natural process of things, and how America, well, maybe Western civilization kind of makes death like just horrific. And I'm like, yeah, but that everybody, there's not one person on this earth who's ever walked the earth who has not died. That
Mhm.
everybody's coming to an end at some point. And
Mhm.
you had your scare with cancer. I had a heart attack in 2021,
Mm.
which was I was very close to not coming out of that. And
Yeah.
I had it in the middle of COVID when
Mm.
it was the highest and worst part of COVID. It was in November of
Of course,
2021.
though. Like,
So yeah, and I've recounted that situation a few times on this show, but like the basics are, I was in an emergency room hallway for 36 hours before they get me into cardiology. Then they get me into cardiology, and the people go in and they're going, well, we're going to put stents in if we need to. We got to check your heart. They come in, and the whole Grey's Anatomy thing where the nurses and doctors are all blabbing the whole time because this is normal for them, and they're all
yeah.
blabbing. All of a sudden, all of them got super quiet. And I'm on
Oh,
Valium, and I'm on Valium, and I'm like, and even on Valium, which loops me the hell out. I was like, that's not good. And they pull out and they say, we got to go talk to a cardiologist. And turns out three of my arteries had 80% blockages in them. So and one of them was Widowmaker, and I had 2 blockages in that. So they had to
you're
figure out what to do.
overachieving. Yeah.
I was. I also have what the doctor called genetically narrow arteries, which is not a thing you want to
Didn't
do.
really help you.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Awesome. So as you can imagine, that was a pretty big, scary fucking thing. I mean, I imagine your
Totally.
cancer was the same way, where you're just like, fuck, like what? This isn't how it's
You're
supposed
like,
to go.
hold on, though.
Like,
Like,
why?
pause. Yeah.
And to be honest, the why was because I was not taking care of myself in any way, shape,
Me
or form.
too.
I was eating like a raccoon out of a trash can. I'm having beers tonight, but Friday is usually one of the only nights of the week that I drink. And if I do drink other nights, I have one drink.
Yeah.
But I was drinking to excess like 5 nights a week. And
Sure.
I was just not taking care of myself. And I was doing the thing where I was pushing the hell out of myself, and I would get like 5 hours of sleep. And I sort of took an odd, perverse pride in being like I can just go, I only need 4 hours of sleep. Great.
Mhm.
Now, like the thing is like, I mean, I'm sure, Julia, you figured I got to maybe make some changes. That's how I felt. But, mine was,
Totally.
so I changed my diet completely, and I like did things like I cut out coffee. I just drink decaf coffee and tea, and like I just did a lot of things to try to help my case, on top of being on a million meds and all that stuff. But to this point is like, it made me really worry and think about death at the point, and it scared the shit out of me. But to the point that I lost like 50 pounds after my heart attack because I was terrified to eat food.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy how your brain will just do these oddball things.
The
Like, you need to
pendulum
eat.
swing.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
now because I know what I'm doing, and I know like one of the things I want to talk to you a little bit later about is cooking and food.
Mhm.
And, I made some real changes with that. But like, if you're willing to talk about it, what were some of the changes and how did you feel about like death? Like, how did you come to a good space where you're like, death is just part of this? This is okay. How did you, and was that something you got to really fast, or was that something it took you a while to get to? Because it took
It's
me
a good
a while
question.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something to be said. I really want to honor the acute level of trauma that a heart attack is. Cancer, although it's like sudden, the timeline is very different. And so I think there's a bigger runway with cancer to kind of like dip your toe in. And then like I think I started to say earlier, or maybe I finished saying it, but I found the tumor in my neck and it took me a couple months to get into a doctor and then another month to get surgery. So like I was like, I think the lump in my neck that hurts is probably cancer. Like that tracks. So I had more time to wrap my head around it than I think like other people even in my life. Like where I remember I sent my coworkers at the time a message on Teams. And I was like, hey guys, I was going on a trip and I was like, oh, the Wednesday I get back, I won't be in the office first thing because I have to get a needle biopsy on my neck and it probably will be cancer. Like in a Teams message.
Maybe, probably.
I mean, we're such a small company. It wasn't weird, but saying it makes it sound funny. But
like out loud, you're like, oh no, that
I'm
feels
like,
weird.
how impersonal. But I was like, isn't that better than someone calling you? Because then you have to like react in a certain way. I don't know.
Oh,
that's a whole other topic. But
yeah.
I feel like I had a lot of people in my life be like, but why are you so chill about this? And I was like, because I've accepted that death is just a thing that's going to happen to me. I thought it was going to be a lot further off, and I still hope it's a lot further off, but also it could be tomorrow. So if I can try to live every day thinking like this could be it, in a like not scary way, but like in an invitational kind of way. I think maybe just a little bit after my diagnosis. So I think the timeline is like I had surgery and then I had a month before I did this radioactive. I had to swallow a radioactive pill. I didn't know that was the thing. And
yeah, so they could see all the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was trying to kill my thyroid tissue. And 2 weeks after that, I started working with a naturopath and rebuilding my gut health and totally changed my diet and did all of the things. So somewhere between the original diagnosis and swallowing the radioactive pill, I was like, yeah, I can be really totally fine about this. Like, I think it's yeah, I don't know. It's all very squishy. That was like that turned out to be such a squishy answer. I thought it was going to have more of a definitive
That's a
point,
human. That's a human answer. Not everything's concrete and solid, right?
Yeah, but I just sort of felt like I had permission then to explore. Like I checked out one of the first books I read was Caitlin Doty's book. When Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and it's like her memoir. I think that's it. Yeah.
By the way, did you know that their whole staff is all women?
Yeah. Well, honestly, there's a lot of death care is like women are sort of like female identified people. And some of that I think is because historically women were in charge of death care, like in the time of the villages. So a lot of death care, death midwifery, death doulaing is very much like a reclamation kind of practice. It's not new. It's like skills that we all used to have. So I think that happens a lot. But I also think there's just like still such a huge taboo around death and dying. And then men have like the added taboo of like emotions and death and grief. And they're sort of like, I think eventually we'll see a lot more of a diverse crowd.
Yeah, there's a point with, obviously the heart attack was a little more immediate.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a lot of on ramp. I was just like, holy shit.
Totally. You're like, this is happening.
And the toughest part, and I've said this many times, the toughest part of all that was knowing my wife couldn't be with me because I knew how hard it was on her. Because she couldn't be with me in the middle of COVID. She couldn't be she would come in, she would hang out with me in the emergency room. And then when I got up to cardiology, we'd already had our COVID test on, but we were still masking up because we were in a hospital.
Totally.
And it was just super hard because she would have to leave me, not knowing. Because before, they said we need to do cardiologist. And then for that night, I had to wait for them to come the next day for me to have the next thing.
Totally.
And they were debating whether to do open heart surgery or do cat tubes in my hearts. And I was 50 fucking years old. Like that's scary shit. That's not how it writes out, and I have a brother who had a massive stroke at 45, and it's just a weird set of, you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. So the idea of presence, I love the idea of presence. And even now, knowing what I know and going through all that, I still get into sort of rat racy mindset where it's just like, I got to get this shit done. I got to and then, my wife would be like, can you just slow down? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I need to.
It's not your fault. Society is really upholding that.
It's that, and it's 50 years of having.
You've been practicing it that way for a long time.
Hammered in your brain.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm way more free with my emotions now. I'm willing to cry, and my wife and I watched that show, The Pit, and I cried every fucking episode of that show because it was just like, I don't know if either of you've seen that show. It is set in an ER in Pittsburgh, and Noah Wiley from the original ER show is like the head of the ER. And it's just what, everybody I know who's a nurse, who's ever, my ex-wife is a nurse. She worked in the ER for a while. Everyone says that's exactly what an ER is like for real, what a real ER is like. And it's just a mess. And there was one thing where they said, oh, there's all these old people here. It's not even and they gave it some name like the graveyard time. And they're like, what do you mean the graveyard time? And the graveyard time was when the shift would change at nursing homes. And because nursing homes are so incredibly understaffed, every morning they would come in and they would have several people dead or dying because they didn't have enough people. And you're just like, Jesus, I'm just, crying.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so that was tangent. Sorry about that, but so.
No apologies. I mean, no, that's such a human experience. I also cry a lot more after my diagnosis. I was never a crier. I'm like, repressed emotions are way overrated.
Okay. I hear you, and I'm also maybe a repressed crier. I don't know. I don't think that I don't cry.
I didn't think it was either.
I don't cry. It's not like I refuse to cry. It just doesn't happen very often or regularly.
Yeah.
And I know there's neuroscience and other, and with physiologically it's good for you, but I can't just it just isn't. I don't really know what to do about that. I don't need a specific brush with death to.
No, let's not have that.
Just
I don't want that.
TV show. Yeah.
I'm just saying I need. I don't need to be brought face to face with that, but I'm not generally a crier, but I know that it's good, but I don't, it's the arts will do it, right? Freaking Pixar movies or really good music that's very specific, got the vibe and you're like, oh no. Or if it gets me at the right time, a really sad, cute animal commercial or something.
Oh yeah.
But
that sounds normal to me though. Yeah. Cause I don't cry at the drop of a hat. I'm fully willing to cry if it comes up. I think is maybe the clarification I should make.
That's fair. I feel
yours sounds normal to me. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know because I'm just I feel like I've been told somebody I know once was I feel like all of your tears are dried up, and I was like, no, okay, that feels.
Whoa,
that's a little aggressive.
We were friends. But because they're more of a crier and I'm less of a crier, and so they're like, why don't you cry? And they felt strongly about it. But I think that the hurdle to crying, maybe mine is just a taller hurdle because I feel I get a real I did a I wrote a thing with David Stanley. Some of y'all know David Stanley.
Yeah. He writes
He's
some really emotional stuff. So
it's true, and he's bringing the sonnet back, and like he writes pretty regular, and he's a writer, and I don't feel like I'm as much of a writer regularly. I can write things, but it's not my regular practice. And I did a writing practice thing with him where we wrote some articles, talking about a topic, but like I'm in my 30s and Asian and here, and he was in his 60s and like Jewish and in the Midwest, Michigan. I was like, is that the Midwest? Up there.
Yeah.
And just like our versions of perspective on things. And one of the very first things like we kind of stumbled into doing this project was he wrote a sonnet about like not crying. And it was generally more about like men and emotions and not crying. But I was like, I resonate with this because I don't cry really either. And we wrote a thing and talked about it. And I feel like it's just like I feel it in other, like it doesn't always come out my eyeballs, but it's like in my throat and in my chest. And like I can't like I breathe differently, but it's just there's not always dripping waterworks.
So real.
It doesn't have to be though, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
everybody handles things super differently. So
That's
you know,
true. Death included.
Yeah.
And grieving. Ugh. Sorry. Doug, do you have a new beverage for us?
I do, and I didn't get this one for the label, but the label was pretty awesome.
Oh, I was like a little bit maybe.
So
bonus.
This
That's perfect.
This is Grove Brewing. This is they make really cool like natural labels. This is definitely one of their darker ones, but this is a black IPA from them. Black IPAs are one of my favorite styles of beer. 6.6%. It should have been 6.66. That would have been funnier. But so the idea of you not crying easily there's a lot of people like that. There's also people that cry like super duper easy. Like we're all different. We're all, we all do different things. Yeah. You know what? I was just thinking of this, and Julia, how do you handle things if you have to talk to a client or a person who is neurodivergent versus neurotypical?
Ooh.
Because those are way different ways to handle things.
That's true, especially like organization and decluttering and focus.
Mm-hmm. Neurodivergence can be really good at it or really bad at it.
Yeah, there's a lot of us actually professional organizers that are neurocomplex, as I would say. And it's sort of, we all kind of are like, oh yeah, those are our maladaptive coping mechanisms. But I can leverage this in a scenario that I think will be helpful for people. It's such a different thing. And I guess I just try to meet people where they're at. There's no one like organizing tip that fits all. There's certain like big picture things that are helpful, like using a password management system is really helpful, but the way you kind of think about it can be different. And I think that's why I feel like there's such a natural overlap between coaching and organizing, because when I'm working with a client, I just need their systems to work for them. I could not be fucked if it makes any sense to me. Mm-hmm. It just needs to work for their life and how they like to think about stuff. So that's like really the best thing you can do is just honor whoever it is that you're working with. And if that looks super neurotypical, awesome. And if it looks like a big web of neurocomplexity, awesome. There's a way to do it. And obviously the kind of like executive functioning, which is just such a whatever. I won't go on this whole thing about it.
You can do it. It's okay.
It's like I can't wait for society to get past our obsession with executive functioning, because there's just so many skills that like the neurodivergent crowd has that are so helpful and useful and amazing that just get absolutely zero credit for anything because the one system thinks it needs to be done this way. So I can teach people how to do the things that way based on how their brain works. But I'm half the time I'm like, fuck this way. Just figure out something really different. That's like the whole goal of it. And I think that's where the magic really is, because like I can go into your closet and make it look like a magazine photo, but it doesn't ever really cut to the core of decluttering as a process of like honoring what matters to you and honoring yourself and only thinking about how it impacts yourself and like maybe your kids and your family, sure, but it still is like all about you in a way that I don't think we're given a lot of permission to be that. Like it sounds selfish to people, and I'm like, you just showed up on Earth one day. You came out of an abyss somewhere that you're going back to again at some point, and like, what do you like? I don't know. Like, just maybe just focus on that for a while. So I feel like that's kind of if you're just really leaning into neurodiversity versus neurotypicalism. I don't know if that's really a word, but I'm going to call it.
We know what you mean.
It's just honoring exactly who you are and then finding the systems that can help support you in a bigger picture system that might not feel very supportive.
Yeah, it's as always, it's like, hey, why don't you listen? And listen will go a long way, and then a way you can determine what works. I mean, I'll be honest, like I have 4 kids, and 2 of them are very neurodivergent, and one of them, their communication style is to verbally work things out. Like instead of thinking things through, they're just like, I need to processing. Talk. And I am like not a person that does that.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that mightily. My wife is a fucking saint and just sat there and listened and was able to help. But my wife also can work that way. She understands it better than I do. And it's just funny because I'm not straight neurotypical, but I have tendencies in both directions.
Different tendencies, yeah.
Like I have a favorite spot in the couch. That's where I sit. Nobody sit in my fucking spot. I'm very Sheldon about my spot on the couch. But like I can be very much a creature of habit, but I'm also willing to kind of go on tangents and hey, let's go do this today. Great, let's go. Like but I don't need it to be structured too much, but it is just interesting raising 4 kids that are utterly and completely different. That actually made me a better person, being able to understand different stuff that I always thought this is how things go. You just do this, and this. And I'm finding with all my kids taking these very different paths for how their life is going. And I'm just like, oh, I was very narrow and I shouldn't have been that narrow. And, it's funny being a parent made me realize that more than, and having this is my second marriage, and my first marriage was a fucking mess, but like I had 2 kids out of it that I love, but the second marriage has been just awesome. And I've learned more from my wife than I've learned from anybody else in my life. And that's, I mean, Lauren's heard me talk glowingly about my wife a million times, and it's 100% true. And she can tell you how genuine my adoration of her is. So
it's like really aggressively wholehearted, like just wholesome and adorable.
Yeah,
and
you can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I'm lucky.
It's true.
Also, this is excellent, by the way.
Good. I mean, with the accidental fun can art non-intentional purchase that way, I would hope that it is tasty. Like we love a good murder.
A murder crow.
A spooky vibe, yeah.
Yeah, but like a crow murder.
The one thing that I will say is I looked at the date on this and I didn't realize that IPAs are generally supposed to be had within the first 3 months, and this is from November of last year. So, but it's not.
I guess it's April.
But it's not as malt. Usually, when it's that long, it's pretty malty. This isn't malty. It's still retained a lot of its hoppiness. It's slightly malty, but better than what I expected when I was like, well, I should probably drink that because that's way older than I thought it was.
Whoops.
Time is a construct. So
it's true. And a construct that like we've done to ourselves and also never have enough of. I don't think this is a question, but I just have a thought that I don't know what to do with. So I'm going to just say it because it's like what was kind of coming out. It just made me think of in this conversation of people, like the brushes with mortality or death or whatever that is. And personally versus I recognize that I could be done tomorrow. I know that that's a thing, but I personally haven't had that myself, but I've had that peripherally or like interpersonally, like parents, relatives, like other people, and have experienced that in a not, what is that, like second, third person, right? Whatever, like not first person, not me, but like very close to home. And so it's just like an interesting thing to me where like I have not experienced it myself, but I've peripherally very directly experienced like disaster, end of life, other things, like just like care or situation things. Is it though? Questionable. It feels like it might be. And so like with that, it's like it didn't affect me it affected me directly, but it wasn't me directly. And like something, I don't remember who said what, but it was something just like the thing where okay, this is sort of more of a societal vibe, not everybody, but like it's so much easier for us as an individual to do things or help other people, right? Like I can see your decluttering issues, or I know how to help you, but I won't help myself. Like those things. And it's interesting because it's like, okay, with specifically end of life and death things, it becomes not about you because you're gone, and it's about other people. So you should want to do it. But as a me who has experienced that from the receiving side, as a me who has experienced that from the receiving end of it, from people, and being the one who is still around and missing the person or dealing with the stuff, because I'm me, and also I am not married, I don't own property, I don't have kids, like there's not as many people that would like be affected by the like paperwork part. Like I hope that people would be affected if I weren't around, but you know what I mean? Like by the like planning part, I'm just like not motivated. I'm like, ooh, like I don't have like a will and trust. I probably should. I was like, I list some beneficiaries on some stuff, but like I feel like I should do more, but it doesn't feel like urgent, or like who's it for? Like it's for somebody, but like there's a weird disconnect thing when all of that web of stuff I just threw out there.
Fully. I mean, I think most people feel like that, especially people that don't have kids yet or don't have kids. It
feels a lot more urgent when there's like, no, my like next of kin.
Totally. I think there's so many pieces to it, and it makes total sense and is so normal, especially if you're like, oh, I don't have cancer. Like I didn't, like, it just doesn't feel as urgent. And if it's anything, when you die, the government will take half of everything if you don't specify. Like it'll just go into probation.
They'll put everything in probate.
Not like that to happen.
Yeah, probate. I've also had to peripherally deal with probate court things, which is like super annoying. And
it takes a year. Yes. So if there's anything that you would like to give to anyone at all,
just
it's great to get it in writing, and it doesn't have to be really complicated.
Is the in writing like okay, like bank account, there's like beneficiaries and whatever, but like is the in writing is that the will, or is that a trust? Okay, a will.
A will, I would say, is the excellent first place to start, because a trust comes into play with like more with like specific financial beneficiaries. But let's say you're not married and don't have kids, and you're like, actually, there's an organization that I would love to will all of my money to. That's awesome, but they need to know about it. And someone else needs to be able to connect them. So a will is the perfect first place to start. And there are a bunch of different tools for that online. There's a lot of free wills. There's like,
that's the hard thing, I will say too, is like
it's a lot.
The internet is magical and terrible and real and fake. Like, and it's hard to be like, I can Google something, but like, is any of this legit?
So true. I have a resources tab on my if it's the last thing I do page, and I'm continuing to add trusted sources there. Some of it's like sort of maybe lean right now on the like, but especially as I do my own, the figuring out, I love it. I feel like you should have a whole thing.
That should be a thing. As a me.
I know.
I mean, the spirit of my words. You know, it's a Mario.
It's a me.
But yes, okay. I'm gonna. So your if it's the last thing I do website.
Yes, I have a resources tab, and I'm continuing to add resources there because It's
Think
also
about
like, where do you get started? Like, there's a end of life planning page, and I have a checklist that
Oh,
people can
okay.
download
I know
because
you
it's
and
like,
didn't
I don't
explore
know.
this. My bad.
Well, no one knows
Now
about it. I just get big
you're like,
ideas and
oh,
I
I
add them to my
like,
website, and then I
like
don't
I did
tell
a
anyone they're
thing,
there.
and then you have to like secretly find it.
Yes, totally. So
Surprise! Spoilers, everyone who's watching. There's a secret on our website. It's a resources page.
so many. There's so many resources.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go there because like it is one of the things where like I can Google stuff, but there's like all kinds of like listicles and posts and articles and like
Mhm.
here's a template. You're like, okay, but is this like a good template? Like, who made this template? Like, did a law firm make this or just some random?
Totally.
I don't know. So I trust you as a person, and this is like
I
what you
appreciate
work
that.
on a lot.
Yes.
And so as a trusted human person as well as a business person, I'm gonna go check out your website for that
Yeah.
because it does feel like a lot, sometimes just with the stuff and the digital stuff and the things to do,
Hmm.
chores and planning and everything.
Yeah.
So I love a place to focus.
Yeah. I'm like, the order of operations, I'm working on a couple of different PDFs that will eventually live on my website that involve like, where should you start? Where do you go next? Like a big flow chart
That's
of
amazing.
end
Which
of
I'm sure it's
life
like,
planning.
like it's like it flowchart wise, like almost like those quizzes and like teen magazines where it's like
Yes,
if you choose this, go that way or go this way.
exactly. That's
Love that.
exactly what it is. Yeah. Because
Uh,
I don't know. And then sometimes you have to do this one other piece. Like when I got diagnosed and I had surgery, I made an advance directive. And then I'm like, well, I have an advance directive. What else am I missing? I don't even know.
you're like, I
So
need
having
this.
it all
What else
mapped
is
out.
there? Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
That
Yeah.
yeah.
reminds me of like if I'm trying to do something, like one of my kids will be like, "Well, here's this thing," and I'm like, "Okay," and they're like, "Well, I don't know what to do," and I'm like, "Do you think I know what to do? Because I don't. I'm just gonna go try shit and figure it out." Like I just, but
Oh,
it's
they
different
trust
because
you
I'm older.
too.
But it's
Yeah.
I'm older and I have experience in figuring. Okay, well, which is likely to be the best source, but like, they're as a parent, you're trying to prepare them for everything, and you're just never going to. It's just never going to happen. You're never going to prepare them as well as you hope, and you just got to be there when they need you because the calls will come. I promise you, they will come.
I will
And
also say, as a side note to that, because you are a parent and I am not a parent, but have been a child, that I do also think that there are ways that you try to prepare them like as best as you can, and also ways that you are preparing them that like neither of you have any clue will be as helpful as it is. Like you'll never think that that's the thing, but it like really
Truth.
forms or values or foundations something.
Mhm.
So all you do is do your best and care, and like stuff is sticking.
Yeah.
Oh, this sticks, but yeah, sometimes not in the best way. Like I am the on-call person if anything goes wrong. That's my role, and my kids are adults, so they should be. That's as it should be. They shouldn't be, at least for me. They don't have to just be, they don't have to be constantly updating me on their life things. They just need to be able to call me once in a while so I know they're okay. And if you have anything that goes wrong, I'm here. So
Yeah.
I mean that's that goes for anything, but you know how that is. But
We're gonna cut this
um,
clip and send it to them.
they're gonna be like, yeah, sure, Dad, okay. So let's can we shift quick to food because we all
Yeah,
like food, all of us, I
I
think,
do.
Yeah.
right? So what
Yes.
I would like to think so. Julia, when you had to, you basically said you made some life changes and you went more
Yeah.
of sort of a homeopathic sort of route. What did that mean to you? If you're willing to talk about what that meant for you from a diet perspective, was it like a vegetarian change? Was it vegan? Was it just I'm just going to do this? What did that mean to you?
Yeah. So I had struggled with digestive issues for years and years and years. And I
Hmm.
very much attribute my cancer to that because my body was just so overwhelmed for so many years. So at the time that I started working with my naturopath, she has a background in Chinese medicine, but I've worked with a lot of practitioners over the years. And I started doing a really, really strict elimination diet that's called autoimmune paleo. And it was just like
Oh, a 2-in-1.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
like the most strict version of Whole30, basically.
When you do that, that's just because I have not done this, that's like
Yeah.
remove everything and slowly add back.
Yep, add one thing at a time. But my gut was so bad that we did 6 months of remove everything
Oh,
and then
a
add
long
stuff back
time.
in. Yeah. But fun fact, when your leaky gut is so bad and you eat a thing that you didn't initially react to, if your gut is leaky, your body will start to react to it. So basically everything that I ate over the course of 15 years became a thing that I reacted to. So when I tried to add everything back in, I couldn't add any of it back in again.
Oh,
So I've been
no.
eating ostensibly the most strict elimination diet since then. And I've had different variations and I've added some things. And I added white rice back in, and that did not go well for my gut health as much as I really enjoyed it.
What about, can you do brown rice?
No, I don't do any grains at all, actually.
Okay.
So a lot of cassava in my life, although I can't have too much because that pushes it over the edge. So it's like I eat a lot of so many vegetables and animal protein.
Vegetable.
Yeah, I'm like my friend. I was saying one time when my friends were over that I was like, oh, I'm just making some roasted vegetables. If anyone wants any. And then I came out with like a cereal bowl full of vegetables. And she was like, that's a lot of vegetables. I was like, what's my whole dinner? Like
it's all
the
of
caloric intake of vegetables is like, you have to
They're
eat a
pretty
lot
low.
of them.
What do you do for protein then?
Yeah, the only protein I can really handle is animal protein. So I do a lot of like soups with chicken broth and just the chicken broth in the morning. And, there's a lot of different theories and food protocols that people can follow, but I'm like, the one that your body likes the most is the one you should follow. So I have some friends that are really happy vegans, and I have other friends who are unhappy vegans.
Less happy
went back to
vegans.
eating meat. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a cookbook from an Asian chef named Jonathan Kung who makes breakfast broths.
Ooh.
Because in his, I'm not sure if I believe he's Chinese, but they have like a breakfast broth like that he makes that's like, it's warm, it's, the filling, but it's just a broth. But he'll have it when he's not feeling well or he's feeling off, and that and it's just, and also the weird thing is like in a lot of Asian cultures, they don't drink like cold water. Everything's warm.
I don't either. Mine's room temperature.
Yeah, and so like they'll do that, or they'll drink it even heated up a little. Like it's really interesting because they swear by it from like the idea of like gut health.
Yeah.
Now, so for gut health, like, is it something where is it anything that's diagnosed? It's just it's like Crohn's or like
I have an official IBS diagnosis, which means absolutely nothing.
IBS can be a million things.
Yeah, it's just like inflammatory issues, leaky gut. So I mean, I remember I went to a gastroenterologist back in 2014, and he was like, well, you need to change your stress levels in your food. And I was like, okay, cool, but like, how do I do that? And he didn't have any suggestions. Yeah. And it's true. Like,
yes, that's right. And what do you mean?
How do I do that? Especially because at that point I had just moved to LA. Like, I don't know, I was 24, 25. Like, I don't know. I was working 3 jobs. Like, it's
you're like, yeah, stress. This is my like building my career time.
Yeah, no,
stress is what's holding me together.
Yeah, like if you
time.
want to pay my rent, that's cool because then I could lower my stress levels.
That would be amazing.
Like, yeah.
Thank you for that offer.
Like a good thing. Yeah, totally. I do think for a lot of people, gut balance is so related to like emotional balance and also like stress, like physiological stress, not just mental stress. Because I'm like, yeah, I can handle a lot of stress, and I'm like, yeah, my body can't handle a lot of stress.
Mentally resilient, but your body is like, nah.
Ding, yeah, because I'm like, neurocomplex brain in a caveman body. So,
that's rough.
Gotta go sit on a mossy patch for a while sometimes.
Talk to some plants,
Yeah.
Touch grass, all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, I had to afterwards. It was like the doctor's like, all right, so sodium. take that all down. Take that.
Yeah.
And if you're eating red meat, don't eat that very often. And I'm like, all right. And so I just incorporated a shit ton of vegetables.
Mhm.
I was never much a vegetable eater. I eat chicken and seafood all the time. Once every 2 weeks, I'll have a steak, or like that'll be a treat, or
Yeah.
a burger, and that's a treat. And I
Mhm.
just treat it that way. And it's funny because for me, it turned into I need to cook because I have to know how to
Oh, to
control what
control
I'm.
it.
Like Julie, you're the same. So I can control what's coming into my body. I
Totally.
know what I'm doing. If I go out to eat, I know nothing about what they're putting in the food.
No.
Zero.
Wild
And
West.
I remember one of my favorite. I love soups. I eat all kinds of soups, and I used to love French onion soup. Problem is, French onion soup is fucking loaded with sodium. I mean,
Yeah.
loaded with sodium. So, like, if I'm going to go out to eat, I'm going to all right, I'll have some oatmeal for breakfast. I'll have a salad for lunch, and then
Physiologically
here we
prepare for
go.
the dinner out.
Yeah, totally.
Gamble for dinner because I had no sodium all day. And when I go out to eat, I almost always get chicken, or I will get fish too, but usually it's chicken because I know chicken, they usually cook it enough that I don't have to worry about some sort of weird health issue. That doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time. But like the idea of going out to eat, like they make food taste delicious, and the reason they make it taste delicious is either butter or salt, and that's what they throw in it. And that's what you do to make it taste really good. And yeah, it tastes great. Except now, because I'm on low sodium, if I eat anything really salty, I'm like, oh, it just.
I know. That's how I feel about sugar now. If I have sugar, I wake up like puffy faced, and I'm like, I don't know what it feels like to be hungover, but I think this is what it feels like.
Sugar.
Like a sugar high hangover.
So real.
Yeah. Like, and I have to cook from recipes. I don't know if you're that way. I need recipes to follow.
Me too.
Now the thing is, I could cook a recipe and go, that needs more of this. And
okay,
I can
so you
do
can
that.
like recipe and adjust.
First time I cook anything that I've never cooked before is always recipe, and I follow it to the letter.
I mean, that's a good way to start.
Me too.
And then I can audible a little bit. I'm not super comfortable with. My wife just is like, I'm throwing all this shit in, and I'm cooking it, and I taste it and smell it, and I'm like, that's awesome. I can't do that. I'm just not that skilled. So, yeah. What's fun is I've been very lucky. I don't know. Does your husband eat this? You guys kind of have your own separate ways of eating. Because my wife and I eat almost the same. Like she will eat.
That's helpful.
I would say we have a pretty big Venn diagram. For the first year that I was doing the elimination diet, he ate maybe like a lot of it. So like 2 meals a day. And maybe still we sort of have 2 meals a day, and then sometimes he'll just add other ingredients.
Like if what we're having plus of something.
Plus, like, if I have chicken, an avocado, and a bunch of roasted vegetables, he'll also add like black beans, or sometimes he'll add rice, and I'll just use cauliflower rice. Yeah,
that's a good option too.
Too much cooking. And I'm like, I was eating autoimmune keto for a little while last year just to see how my body reacted to it, and I was like, he couldn't eat almost anything that I was eating because I was eating a lot of coconut, and he can't eat coconut. And I'm just saying the hassle of that far outweighed any of the benefits that I think it was ever going to.
The cost benefit of a lot of things can be very challenging. Okay.
So real.
I'm going to half interrupt and ask, because both of you are have turned into cooking things. Is there a favorite like go-to dish or way of cooking a type of something that I should know about that's like also tasty? Because like, again, like sure, salt and butter and the things and like other spices are great, but like what's a tasty go-to thing that I should cook?
You want to go first, Julia?
I can go first. I mean, I was recently at a party and I asked other people what their favorite food is. And then they were like, but how about you? And I was like, I kind of actually didn't expect to have to answer this question. And my answer is roasted cauliflower. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, but it's so good though. So
Depending on
here we are.
how you season it, yeah.
Yes,
I
I
agree
just-
with
So
you.
okay, so in your ideal, Julia,
Yeah,
is your answer roasted cauliflower?
roasted cauliflower. I
And
think
if so, like what? Like tell me more.
cheap pan of roasted vegetables. I
Okay.
do cauliflower, asparagus, Brussels sprouts,
Brussels
broccoli,
sprouts.
and sometimes some sweet potatoes, and then also beets if you wrap them in foil in a little packet and just put olive oil and salt
Okay,
on it.
'cause-
And you can go easy on the salt or no salt, and you could
Whatever
add
level.
garlic powder instead of salt.
Garlic powder, a great seasoning.
And yeah, cook it at 390 for, I don't know, 45 minutes.
390.
depending on how big-
Who cooks at 390?
Well, you
So
can.
400. 400 or 350.
Well, it could be, but I think it maybe my oven's just a piece of shit, and so 390 makes
You're
more
like, it
sense.
goes by single degrees.
Yeah, it's like, and we had to get a thermometer because it's just a knob that
Oh,
you
it's
just
like,
like
oh,
guesstimate
you're like,
what the
is it
temperature is.
this?
So 400 might just be the point where my oven gets crazy, and you're
Can't.
like, I didn't want like
400
inferno
could be 800.
blasted.
You're like,
You don't
oh
know.
no, this is just heating my living space now.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Okay, like 40 minutes, whatever you said, for like Brussels sprouts and beets and asparagus.
Well, asparagus we usually put, so cauliflower goes in first with the beets.
Okay, so you throw it in like,
and
because I was
then
gonna say
20 minutes later you can put the asparagus in, and then after another like 8 minutes you can drop the broccoli in.
Yeah,
oh,
Brussels
broccoli
sprouts and
less,
asparagus.
broccoli less than asparagus.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
it goes up in flames.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want like fossilized broccoli, you can put it in.
I would love for you to have a restaurant and just one of the menu items is fossilized broccoli.
Fossilized broccoli.
And people would order it. If
They're
you
like,
had
yeah,
ooh,
probably.
it would be an
I am
Instagram
making
thing. It would be viral.
This is what I should be doing, apparently.
The
If it's the
next
last thing I do.
fossilized broccoli for the masses.
Well played, Julia. Well played.
It's a good stuff. Doug,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your
Yeah, so roasted
hot
vegetables with
tip, yeah.
specifics.
All right.
Doug.
What's your
Before we go to me, what
Yeah.
seasonings do you put on yours, Julia? Do you what?
Oh, yeah,
just
you said salt and olive
what
oil.
seasoning?
honestly salt mostly,
what kind
but
of oil?
a good combo. I can't eat a lot of spices, actually. That's one of the
Okay.
things I'm very intolerant to. So we
Okay.
use a lot of herbs like basil, parsley, oregano, garlic powder, turmeric, ginger. That's like the
The
lineup, and then you
non-spicy
can kind of
spices.
just
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Do you have
they-
do you have a favorite herbaceous, like herby, like plant spice seasoning?
You know, they've grown on me a lot. I used to really hate rosemary, and oregano was like too much. But now
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. My Greek heritage, they're very happy that I've come around to oregano. I think
Put
sage.
it
Yeah.
Smash the plate.
Exactly. I think sage is underrated as an
Oh.
herb. I feel like it gets overlooked a lot, but it works really well with a lot of vegetables. And you get this
Okay.
like really cozy
Sweet
vibe
potatoes.
going.
Sweet potatoes.
Yeah. Butternut squash with
Butternut
sage,
squash,
like,
yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
you know,
I'm into
just
Ooh, yeah.
I love food. You asked, we are. I am a food motivated person. That sounds great.
Mhm.
Okay, Daniel
is.
agrees. One of our fact checkers. So
Excellent.
facts checked.
Fully
For sure.
checked.
Yeah, when I make Brussels sprouts, I always roast them, and it's oil, salt, pepper, and
Mhm.
red pepper flakes,
Mhm.
Oh,
and not a lot of red pepper flakes,
Just a
little,
few.
to give them just a little, and man, that is freaking delicious. So good.
But with coconut aminos too, get on
Mhm.
that.
are
Is a
coconut
teriyaki
aminos-
sauce alternative? Because I can't
Okay,
have
because
soy.
like aminos are like is like soy sauce. So is that
Exactly.
the same
Oh
thing?
man, I feel for you, Daniel. Daniel has lactose.
Oh,
Oh, me too. I haven't had dairy in 6 years, and I deeply feel
that
you
is
on
my
this.
concern. I am Asian and lactose intolerant, but also buy the Costco pack of Lactaid packets.
Get a digestive advantage better than Lactaid. You just take one every morning instead of right before you want to eat the
Oh.
food. It was phenomenal. It
Man,
works
I
so
will
well.
have to look into this.
Mhm.
I mean, mostly because I like dairy enough that it'll probably show up daily, but like it's like maybe not every meal.
Totally.
But yeah, it's hard because I was like, ooh, cheese, ice cream. Like pizza is one of my favorite foods.
Mhm.
I mean, also like I can do some cheeses and it's like not a problem, but like real like cream, milk, It's too much.
Yes.
So do you do like oat milk or something if you have to do milk?
Generally, like we shifted to, I don't know if it's better or worse or whatever, but like oat milk instead of like almond milk because we're like, oh no, almonds take too much water and it's like terrible and like whatever. So we were trying to test different pretend milks.
Yes.
Oat milk feels closer to milk beverage than other milks.
It does.
So
Totally.
that's where I have currently landed. But even like growing, because I had lactose intolerance as like a elementary school, middle school kid. So like we would get like lactose milk.
Yes.
I had to like don't care enough. I was like, I don't need it for like creamer in something in that way.
Yeah.
Would you need 50?
I'm saying digestive advantage. You only
digestive.
need one.
Okay, Daniel.
No, there you go, Daniel. Give that a try. Apparently, so maybe that'll work. And I
feel
think
like,
he is
again,
at Costco. I do not. So
I do feel like Julia also like reputable source for information. Like maybe not law, but everything else.
Yes.
apparently not law. So yeah.
No,
Apparently,
not yet. Anyway.
Yeah.
TBD.
All right. So a go-to breakfast for me. I'm going to break them down by meals because
Meals.
a lot of things are mood dependent. I'm very
That's fair.
I can really go for that, and I'll make that breakfast at least once a week. I will make kimchi fried rice. It is fucking delicious. It's really easy to make. Cut up some kimchi, saute it up, add some gochujang, which Julia probably can't have.
That's okay.
And then add some day-old rice that you made in a rice cooker. Throw it in, put it all together, and then just fry up an over easy egg. Throw it on top with some sesame seeds and some green onions. Awesome, just awesome. And no, it's not Uncle Roger's recipe. It's my recipe. You never saw Uncle Roger? It's this guy that's a comedian, but he goes by Uncle Roger, and he's playing like a stereotypical Asian guy making fun of recipes.
Great.
He's great. He's really funny. But
what
was that name? What was the name of that thing again, Julia? The
digestive advantage.
Digestive advantage. Okay.
Yeah,
which is like
that's the brand, and then there's like a lactose support.
Okay.
this is kind of green onion, correct? And then he just keeps going. That's kind of shit he does in that Uncle Roger's video. I love kimchi fried rice, and it's veggies and rice, and so yeah, it's good. But for lunch, again, I usually will eat leftovers. But if I don't have leftovers,
I love a good leftover.
Because I cannot have. Well, I can, but like I really shouldn't. Is processed food. I fucking love chicken tenders. So what I do is I get chicken tenders that are raw, and then I make the triumvirate of dredge. So it's like, here's your flour, and I put salt, pepper, and garlic powder, a lot of it, and I mix it together, and then 2 eggs, and then panko, because panko has less sodium. And then I mix some Parmesan in with the panko, and then I air fry it for 20 minutes. And that's chicken fingers, super easy. I also really dig, there's a thing in where I live that it's called Speedy sauce. It's basically a Greek marinade. And I like making those. I can put those on the grill. The dinner is a myriad of, I will try any fucking thing that I can make myself. But one of the things that I make that is a pretty standard one is butter chicken. I can make a really good butter chicken.
Oh.
And that is a 2-hour cooking process for me.
Yeah.
So it is a long time, but the thing is like,
is it active or is it chill cook time?
Part of it is about, in the morning, I will dice up all my chicken and then I'll throw it in a bag and make all the sauce and put it together and let it marinate. That has to marinate for a couple hours at least. And then you're making the sauce, and the sauce is what takes time. Because it's slow, and you just
and the building, the depth, and the flavor.
And you're building, and Indian cooking for food is very much like that. It's just slow and adding and just building and all that.
Which
stuff.
is always like slow cooked foods are so tasty, but also I'm like, again, the time thing, the construct that we don't have enough of is the worst. So we're like, I don't have time to like be stirring this regularly.
Yeah, this is. I've never made mole, but
my husband has.
Was it also?
Time. We have like, there's like one shelf of our pantry now that's just like 7 different bags of dried chilies because it's like
from the one time.
Yeah. He did say it was delicious, though. So
Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
I just want to say that I'm also very fortunate that I work from home most days, so I have the time, and I'm also fortunate that I make enough money that I can afford to make the food that I make. I'm not something, I don't buy like premium ingredients or anything like that. I will buy organic chicken because my wife certifies organic farms, and I know the stringency
Kind of
about
part of it.
So it's that, but like, yeah. Oh, this is true.
What is
Rick Bayless is a great Mexican. He's not Mexican, but he makes Mexican food. That's his
Yes,
life
I
passion.
recognize this chef. What does this mean?
But so the funny thing is his brother is this asshole sportscaster named Skip Bayless, who's just a giant asshole.
Truth.
What a juxtaposition.
And Rick Bayless is just the nicest guy. Like everybody that is just really, just Rick, a really nice dude, and his brother is just a giant.
Very soft spoken.
Yeah. So it's funny. Skip is a dick for real. He is. He's an actual asshole. So it's just funny because they're two brothers and they're just so diametrically different from each other. It's really interesting. But yeah, so like I said, with dinner is just, I'll find some recipe. I'm like, well, let's try this. Jill's like, absolutely, let's go. Let's do it. And she's just willing to go along this journey with me, which is super fun.
Where do you find your random recipes?
Largely like I will do TikTok, or I'll go, hey, I want this style of cooking for two, because we're mostly empty nesters now. Or I have some recipes. I'm like, my kids, all of them love my chicken parm recipe, and I make my sauce from scratch because then I can control all the shit that goes in it. Again, it's different. It's just different ways to make things, and we all find a way to make things that are comfort foods. That, like, I use my comfort food to just be like, give me fish and chips out of the air fryer and fucking malt vinegar and ketchup and just let me house it. And I can't do that anymore. I can make fish and chips at home. My chips will be air fried. And if I'm going to make real fish and chips, I will fry the fish, but then our house stinks like a motherfucker. So I don't really do that very often.
Choices, cost benefit.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. But like, I have a million recipes. I think I have like 200 and something recipes saved in my recipe folder. So I have boatloads of them.
Is that archived in your email, or is that a bookmark situation?
Bookmark situation, but I also have some that I typed out that I also have another folder. And that's
I recommend the app Paprika, because you can literally just copy and paste URLs into it and it'll pull out the recipe.
Oh, into that one spot.
Yeah. And then
and if you go online and you find a recipe you like, you can do print recipe, and that'll just give you the recipe. And
instead of
and you can save it.
Exactly.
So yeah.
You made cheese curds. I appreciate the ambition there.
Yeah, I was like, that seems committed. I don't know a lot. I have never tried to do that. That seems, thorough.
I cook a lot, and it's mostly just like, how many ways can you dice a zucchini? There's just, that's the joy of not being able to eat a lot of stuff.
So I have a
cooking's easy.
Follow-up question to you. I know that you said your thing was roasted vegetables. Do you have I hate the binary favorite, but do you have a favorite or a go-to vegetable, or what you feel like is the most not diverse,
underrated?
Or underrated, or you can do the most things with, or just a go-to favorite of yours?
I do think cauliflower is pretty phenomenal because I use it as a rice substitute, and then
that does help.
You can roast it. You could probably steam them. I don't know. It's hard because it's mostly the variety of vegetables. That's what makes vegetables so much fun.
It's true.
And I'm like,
I will say cauliflower's roastiness versus when it could be very soft.
Yeah.
Also is kind of nice.
And you can also puree it really easily. So it's a good potato substitute. So
there's no substitute for potatoes.
I can't eat normal potatoes because they're nightshades, and nightshades really hate me.
That's understandable. I'm just saying, for me, I can eat potatoes every meal of every day.
Yeah, well, I respect that.
Potatoes are a magical
They are the most versatile thing for me.
Yes, the sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are good too.
That's the vibe, because they're not nightshades.
Yeah.
So I feel like
that's interesting. So they're not nightshades. What about yams, which are different than sweet potatoes?
Yams and sweet potatoes are related, and that's why, because they're not nightshades, they're not poisonous when they're raw. Like regular potatoes are poisonous. And then,
I mean, to be fair, like I've never tried to eat a raw potato, but like that's not.
Yeah, it's just like just don't undercook your potatoes kind of vibe. Yes, eggplant is a nightshade, and a cauliflower puree with salmon Arctic char sounds excellent and like what I eat all the time.
What is a fish that you like, or a seafood that you prefer?
I really love seafood. My husband is warming up to seafood. He grew up in a non-seafood family.
That's a shift.
White fish now. My sister, who's been in the chat, is gluten intolerant, and we laugh a lot that we end up eating a lot of salmon when we go out to eat. And so we have a salmon scorecard. So when you're on vacation, like how many pieces of salmon did you eat? Because that was what was on the gluten-free menu. I would say I make a lot of salmon at home. My husband, despite not eating them, cooks absolutely phenomenal scallops. So for fun, that's like a treat that we'll go get scallops, and he'll make them for me, and then I will just eat all of them.
That's amazing. I do love a scallop. I've been told so many times that it's not hard, but also like you have to commit to purchasing expensive scallops and like don't mess them up because it'll be sad.
Yeah.
You can also get frozen scallops and just thaw them. And they're much cheaper.
I mean, yes. And also still it's a value decision choice. I'm in danger.
Ooh.
You have to it has to be dried and seared. Don't worry, Mr. Ramsey. I know it's like the sear is important, but like I'm just like, I know it's not hard. I've been told it's not hard, and it's just like fast. But like when they're not done well,
it's intimidating.
It's so sad. Like, and I'm a value person. It's like I'm gonna eat the sad scallops anyway, and that's just sad. But like I'm not gonna throw them away.
I feel this so deeply. I have never cooked a scallop. I've only consumed them. Yeah, I get frozen.
That seems very nice that you just only have consumed it. That's very nice.
Yeah. I feel like that's the ideal scenario.
I have confidence in you, Lauren. You can do this.
Thank you. How much smoke am I going to create in my home?
Not too much. They're not fast, because they're so little.
It's so quickly.
Mm-hmm. There's a recipe I think that Julia, you might enjoy that I have. That's it's basically Icelandic fish soup.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like it's right up my alley.
My wife and I went to Iceland, and that's a street food there. You get it in a cup, and you just eat it while you're walking down the street. The only thing they do is they make potatoes, but I'm wondering if you could substitute potatoes with cauliflower, and you could probably get somewhat the same consistency, maybe.
Yeah, because if they're like it's all
white sweet potatoes are a pretty good substitute for regular potatoes because they're starchier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it has like celery and leeks and onions and tomato paste, and it does have chicken stock. You could probably substitute veggie stock, and that would be fine. It does have heavy cream in it. That's the only thing that I'm not sure.
Sometimes I use coconut cream, I use it a lot, but like that's a good substitute for
in terms of like thickness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you could use this, and they use halibut or cod or like just a whitefish. Man, it is so comforting, especially when it's cold.
Totally. And they know what's up.
Yeah. And if you have never gone to Iceland, I cannot recommend it. No. What is that? Are you done?
No.
No, Daniel was asking about what kind of wine.
And so I was just like, I will just show him side near someone. I have a menage a trois because and it's
you had a menage a trois.
On a live stream of all places.
You're like
it's a red blend from 2018. And I'm like, can you see this? I'm like halfway through.
Yeah. I see it.
I'm pacing myself. But yeah, thank you for asking, because we all love a tasty treat, which we're talking about as well. So Doug, we're gonna need that recipe at some point.
Yeah, and I put it in a private chat, but
See,
We'll
I
find.
don't know. Jenna
Ooh.
Foster, is that one of your friends?
Top
Because
food
that's
memory.
do you see the scary twin versus the nice twin?
oh,
Oh,
and you're right, Jenna. That is where I had it. I had it in Reykjavik. Reykjavik is a super underrated city. It is gorgeous. It's
Soup.
clean and souped, and they
Sorry,
just
super. Yeah.
super soup.
Super.
Ha 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 ha.
I
But
feel like
what's
Julia
funny
goes
is
up there with the
that
dad
is a
joke
lar-
ones.
that is also the largest city in Iceland, and it's 200,000 people.
Yeah. Which is the best because, like, I live in LA and I
It's
have a
so
friend who
different.
lives in Canada, and I was like, the population of California is 39 million and Canada is 34 million. Same.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but that sounds like a very fancy
I'm
one.
like, that sounds
Demolish.
fancy.
I was like, so like I don't have. I'm not even halfway through. There's plenty of time.
Maybe Julia needs to make more tea. By the way, can you drink tea cold? Because I have to have tea or coffee like fucking lava hot.
Like,
I mean,
room temp or like because there's iced tea.
No, it has to be hot.
Oh, but like not even iced tea.
just
Iced
like
tea, but
tea that cooled off. Yeah.
Yeah, like room temp.
I'm
cold tea.
pretty like, well, it depends on the tea. Like
That's matters.
turmeric ginger, totally fine cold. Like this doesn't bother me.
I do feel like
But
herbal
it's
teas
exceptional
survive.
when it's hot. So
Yeah. I
okay.
feel
From
like
Loire Valley. That's fancy.
now you know, Doug. I feel like there are a lot of people who would fight me on this. I love pizza, and I will generally not turn down pizza. And
Mhm.
if it's cold and there's no option, I will eat it cold. But I always, even if it's a leftover pizza, like I prefer it warm. Like
sure.
Doug has feelings.
Do you microwave it or do you put it in the oven? to heat it up?
I am gonna say that I'm a pizza slut and will have pizza anyway. Sometimes when there's no time, microwave, it's fine. If I can do it in a pan, do it in a toaster oven, do it in like whatever, like oven situation, like there are better ways to do it, but like I will eat Totino's pizza rolls. Like it doesn't matter.
That's how I used to be. But
Like
cold pizza over microwave pizza, but toaster oven pizza is better.
I feel like I still might go microwave pizza over cold pizza, but maybe it depends on the pizza. Because like sometimes when there's like if there's like a 0 to 2 ingredient pizza versus like a works pizza where there's like a lot of stuff, it's like a different flappiness factor. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was the scientific term.
There's a pizza that is local to me when I'm talking about the speedy stuff, which is like a Greek seasoning.
Yeah.
There's a place that makes speedy pizza. So it's chicken speedies on pizza. And it's like a white garlic pizza. I can't explain to you how.
Apparently that's where it's at.
Doug was speechless.
Actually, my wife and I actually ordered that tonight because I was like, I'm pooped from putting in that stupid fan for 3 hours and like I'm working on top of it. So I'm like coming back and forth. So I'm like, I don't feel like making anything. And usually she's just like, all right, well, we want to get some pizza. And there's a few, I'm in New York State, so there's a million pizza places. But there's one that makes a lot of pizzas where they make Detroit style pizza, which I don't know if you know what Detroit style pizza is. Yeah. That is like Pizza Hut pizza, like that pan pizza that Pizza
you both did the exact same move.
Well, because that's what it is.
It's so fucking
it's
good.
so good though. Again, I'm not the pickiest person. I just love pizza in all of its forms. So like I'm not one to speak, but like delicious.
All right. So what I need to do, Lauren, is I need to buy some speedy pizza, freeze it, and then put it in a container with ice packs and send it to you because I think you would love that pizza. It's so fucking good.
We should just take a trip to the East Coast.
Yes, Julia, we're gonna road trip.
You have a place here. We have multiple bedrooms. No kids are
Perfect.
Here. Yes, empty nesting. It's totally fine. It's a B&B situation. But
we'll make some Icelandic soup. We'll get some pizza,
and you get free meals because
it's going to be the after show.
And I will make a shit ton of roasted vegetables for you, Julia.
Perfect. So. I'm sold.
I cannot wait. Timing wise, it will happen. Maybe not right now, but like I will do this.
You know,
Like,
I've told you a million times. You know,
I
Joel and I
know.
are always happy to have you here. So,
Yes, soon, hopefully.
and we're like an hour and a half into Finger Lakes. So there's a million things to do up there.
Like,
Like it's not just
say no
wineries, there's a
more.
million other things to do up there, waterfalls for hikes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
We can be in nature and do the nature thing.
Hey, Greg, we're not doing that right now.
This is another thing that Doug offers or not offers.
Let's ignore that for now. We'll get to that at the very end.
We'll come back to that.
So let's all right, man. So we're gonna do this. Okay, so Julie or Lauren, which one of you would like to go first? If you're watching anything, if you're not, that's totally cool too.
Is that a me? Okay, there's a
Is
point.
that a you? Yeah.
I was like, are you going? I can say things. Okay, so I feel like if y'all have seen me on this before, I'm generally watching things or half watching things or behind on things, and I haven't seen the classics, and I'm like not always the best at this segment. But semi-recently, and I haven't been on here a while, so it's totally fine. Semi-recently, I'm behind. I finally watched all 3 seasons of Ted Lasso and like died. I paced myself. So like I watched it like slowly. And then as soon as I was finished, I like smiled the whole time I was watching it. And then as soon as I finished, I like immediately re-binge watched it while I half did other things because I already knew it. So I could watch it again, but not have to watch it fully with like all of my body. And I love it. So there's that. And we could totally talk about that. But then also, for whatever reason, I also like I do love one of my favorite pastimes, not really a pastime, but like not like a moving meditation mindfulness vibe, but not mindfulness. It's probably not mindfulness. One of my not doing things is couch chores, which is like half watching something and like doing something else that doesn't require all of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last like couple of days, I have watched the animated movies Sing and Sing 2, and they're very adorable.
My husband's in the credits for those, by the way.
What?
Because that's where he used to work. Yeah.
I'm gonna
wait for the information technology section. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And Lauren, you didn't even know that. Come on.
Yes, I did it. I was looking at this tie-in.
I love it.
This was totally on purpose. But I didn't know that, and now I'm gonna have to go look. Because respect to the people in credits. But yeah, I watched Sing and Sing 2, and like I feel like not all children's shows are created equal, but a lot of like kids movie, like animated movies, are much better at like incorporating adults who have to watch them as well. And you're just like, there's like some really lovely lessons in here, and like this, like again, didn't cry, but you're like, oh, my feelings. And so those are a couple of things that I've watched recently, and I don't know if y'all are TED people or animated show people. Tell me all the things to watch. But I'm saying too many things. I'm blaming the half bottle of wine. I watched Ted Lasso slowly, and then I rewatched all of Ted Lasso in like a week. And then I watched Sing 1 and 2. But with Ted Lasso, I also then, Jeff, who we know, he recorded a podcast called What Would Ted Lasso Do? With a friend of his named Dimple. And the two of them recorded podcasts for each episode, like talking about like leadership lessons and positive psychology and like unpacking every episode and things that you could pull and like think about what Ted Lasso would do. So again, I watched Ted Lasso slowly and then I re-binged it super fast. And now I'm like, I stopped paying for Apple TV Plus, and now I'm like listening to Jeff's podcast so I can relive Ted Lasso.
I love it.
That's me. But it was very worth it. Such a great show. And yes.
What is Daniel said? What's your Ted Lasso spirit character?
Okay. So I have been having this conversation because I told Jeff that I was listening to his podcast. And he's like, who do you like resonate with or whatever? And I feel like, not that everyone's not as caricaturized as like some sitcoms, but like it's hard to be like, well, I feel like I'm like a mix of people, right? And I've had these conversations with Jeff, and also Aaron Gavelberg, I was messaging with him because he was one of the first people who was like, I'll give you my password to Apple TV so you can watch Ted Lasso because you have to watch Ted Lasso. Sorry to out him, but like he was very nice about that and he thought I'd enjoy it.
He's a great guy.
He is, love him. But I was talking to him about it too, of like, who do we feel like we might be like? And I don't like, I feel very Ted-like, which I don't like because it's the title character and that's not my usual vibe. But also, even spoilers, at the end of everything, Ted's like, it was never about me, which is very Ted and very the same. So like, I feel like there's like Ted, I've got Ted vibes because like, I love fun, weird questions and like connecting with people in weird ways and like the team vibes and like, I like the wins and losses. It's like I played sports and like I do care, but like it's not always about that. And so I feel like I resonate with that. And I can't decide for any of Ted people who know the characters. I feel like I can't figure out which other character, but there's like hints of maybe Keely or May, the like pub owner. They're like things aren't too serious, but they feel strongly about certain things and they're like boundary setting when it matters. I feel like there's like hints of that for me, but like I feel weird saying it, but I'm like I feel very like seen in Ted, but I'm not his level, but I feel very that, which feels weird for me to say.
I think you should embrace it.
It feels right, and also I feel like where like people like I'm like Harry Potter, and you're like you just want to be the hero character. Don't feel like that.
I think yours is justified.
But Ted's not really a hero,
right? But you're saying like the title main character, and I do feel very in the spirit of Ted, which feels weird for me to say, which again feels very Ted.
No, but it works for you. Yes, very much works.
And I want to talk to everybody about it and know their spirit characters, but also we don't have to do that right now.
All right, Julie,
is that your podcast? Yeah.
Which spirit character are you? We're gonna just unpack everybody's. Julia, your turn because I just like word vomited multiple shows. What are you watching, if anything?
Great. We have been watching. Well, we watched Last One Laughing UK because that season just came out. It's on Amazon Prime, and there are comics and they're in a room for 6 hours and they have to not laugh. And then they get kicked out if they laugh or really actually smile twice. And they try to make each other laugh and it's funny. And so we moved on because there's a million other countries. And we were like, sometimes that gets kind of lost in translation. But we were like, just for fun, we're going to try watching the German one. So I took German in school. My husband doesn't speak German, but subtitles. And honestly, the first 2 seasons were so much funnier than we thought. The third one kind of fell flat, but I really recommend it if you're looking for just like genuine laughs because it's just a funny show.
Yeah.
So Last One
Laughing. They are comedians that are actively trying to make each other laugh, but also not laugh themselves.
Exactly.
And it's all Amazon. Okay, I'm intrigued, but also don't know if I have access to that. But I will consider it.
I'm like, you can call at your girl, yeah. You're like, we'll see. And then we also started watching. We're only a couple episodes in a show called Ludwig, which is British. Okay. David Mitchell is like the main character, and it has like kind of a puzzle murder mystery vibe, but sort of not too creepy. And he has a twin brother on the show, so I was like, I mean,
like it feels right.
I love puzzles, and I have a twin, so
and you have the scarier face, so
I do. Yes, it's perfect for me. But I'm really enjoying it so far.
Ludwig.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Taskmasters? That show is awesome.
We're obsessed. Every season.
Can I interrupt this regularly scheduled What Are You Watching to say something about that?
Yeah.
Look at that comment.
What a glowing review. This is like on the poster, but like in like a really neutral movie poster.
Yeah. As a me.
As a me.
That's the poster. Thoroughly enjoyed, said the twin. Taskmaster. I have a friend named Jenna, and she had a birthday party where she hosted Taskmaster. So she was the Taskmaster. Her husband was assistant, whoever it is in the various places that it happens.
Mhm.
And I not misread emails, but she was like, we'd love everyone to participate. So if you want to play, like, bring the best shiny thing.
Oh.
And so like I was like, okay. And like I chose a thing and I was like, okay, like a bunch of people are gonna do it. And there were probably like 30 people there, and like 4 or 5 of us brought best fancy shiny thing.
Well, it's
And
perfect because there's 5 people on the show.
it felt very appropriate. And that was not how I thought it was going to go. I didn't really know the plan, but like basically we became the entertainment because it wasn't a recorded thing. It was her birthday party. So we went to her home. It was mostly outdoors stuff. And so like people would be outside for whatever the tasks that were created, but then the 4 or 5 of us that were doing it would be like sequestered in some other room and get called out randomly. And we would like hear like laughing and we're like, what are they doing? But we just like talk to each other, and then we'd go out and be like, oh my God, this is what we have to do.
Oh my God.
And then we'd do it. And then we'd come out and be judged and be given points. And we had to do ridiculous things. And it was like really fun and funny and also a little stressful. But I participated in a birthday Taskmaster.
That's awesome.
I applaud them for like putting it together. He also like had the tablet. They had thoughtful tasks. Let me just say, the worst, like one of my nightmares was like, there was like, they had a friend who I think like worked at Pixar and was like a cool human, and like webcammed him in, and the task was impress Jeff. And you're like, this, what do you mean?
Oh no.
This is not a thing I aim for.
Totally.
So that was really stressful, but we also had to do a thing where we had to like make the best sidecar, but we couldn't make noise over 90 decibels, and they had like a phone app, and if we did go over 90 decibels, anytime that happened, we had to scream, I'm the best, and whoever had the fastest time and best sidecar won points. So like they had very thoroughly thought out ridiculous tasks, which I'm sure they probably grabbed from the show, many spin-offs in various places. But Taskmaster is amazing and really scary to do.
Well, I mean,
I would love to try
totally
that.
know that you're signing up for it. That
I
would
like half knew. I understood. And they like linked, in case you don't know what Taskmaster is, like here's a clip of a thing. But like I don't think I understood who was or was not participating. But we could totally do a Taskmaster hangout sometime.
My friend is obsessed, and he makes tasks, and anyway, yeah, that's a whole thing. So
okay, so we have a go-to task.
We've got a resource
assistant. Like, what is his name?
Yeah,
he doesn't have a label. He doesn't have a position. It's just a name.
Yeah, he's just the Taskmaster's assistant.
Taskmaster. We have an assistant to go to. Okay, noted. Julia, we'll talk later.
Yeah, call me.
I don't know why you said that out and over, but also we didn't get to what you were watching.
Yes, we haven't made it to Doug's. What are you watching?
All right, so to the earlier thing.
Yes.
This is a show my wife and I love. It's basically all the best like celebrity chefs competing against each other and all this stuff. And we have one of the celebrity chefs that was on the show, on our show, a couple years ago. So Leanne Wong was on it, and she was in the top 4. Again, all the top 4 were women, which was great. And Antonia Lafasa won, which she's been there. She'd been in every fucking episode, every season, and she gets to the end every time and loses. And she finally won. So it was kind of cool to see her win. Fun fact about Antonia Lafasa: her daughter is her and Heavy D son or daughter. That's their daughter. She had a son, or she had a daughter with Heavy D from Heavy D and the Boys.
Is so random.
Yeah.
And also like, okay, full circle pop culture moment.
And Heavy
pop
D
culture really just re-pop culturing.
Yeah, and Heavy D died like 5 or 6 years ago. So
yeah.
Yeah. So
I did not know that at all.
this is second one is Black Mirror. I
Oh,
fucking love Black Mirror. I still have one more episode. It's the McAllister Redux episode. There is an episode, the very first episode of the season is so fucking bleak, but so relatable. And then there's other ones that are super fun and interesting. And then there's one called Eulogy with Paul Giamatti in it. And he acts the shit out of that episode. It's really good. There's one with Issa Rae she's really good in it. So they bring great actors. And there's one called Plaything with fucking Peter Capaldi from Doctor Who is the main character, but he plays like this long-haired hippie guy. It's fucking bonkers. It's a great show, but it's super bonkers.
Yeah.
This I watched because so Gerald's Game is a Stephen King book that Mike Flanagan translated into a movie for Netflix. This movie was made in 2017, but I'm listening to a podcast called Flanagan's Wake, where they're basically recounting all of Mike Flanagan's, the director of this movie, all of his movies and shows. He did Haunting of Hill House. He did Midnight Mass. Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff. This is one of the best Stephen King adaptations I've ever seen. Like it's so good. Carly Gugino is in it. It's weird because it takes place almost a whole movie takes place in a bedroom with her handcuffed to a bed and her husband dies of a heart attack. And it's just basically her dealing with all the mental weird shit she's trying to go through because she's handcuffed to both sides of the bed and she has no access to the key.
Oh God.
And
it's just a nightmare.
It is a movie all about mental fuckery. And that doesn't work very well in most movies, but Flanagan's a gifted director and he just makes that shit work. Like,
I have a follow-up question for you on that / this one, because the Stephen King thing you said, because I was part of a based on a book club that did books that were also movies or TV shows, and you said this was one of the best adaptations. In a short version way or whatever detail, was it good because was it very by the book, or like it took the book and twisted it, or like focused in a cool but slightly different way?
It's by the book, but he takes some liberties that make them, because it's a movie medium, it's different. But only slightly. Like he does some slight different variations from the book. There's one that's a little larger, but not. It makes the movie work.
That's cool. I know that it's very hard to take a good book and make it a good movie, because it's just
there is one scene in the book and in the movie that he does literally from the book, and it is extraordinarily gross, and it's how she escapes. So a forewarning that is gross.
Okay. So maybe.
And Lauren, I know you're not really sort of keen on the gross stuff. So
I mean, of the horror things, gore is not always the part that is the problem. It's not a thing that I seek out, but it's like the psychological, which also sounds like this, the psychological like fuckery is the like, oh my God, like either the things where like I'm gonna like think about it later and be like Sixth Sense style, where you're like, oh my God, it's cold, there's dead people in here, or or just like a sound or whatever, or just like, God, like I can't even imagine like the psychological craziness. That's harder.
But there's a lot of her recounting shit that happened in her youth that led her to be who she is now.
Oh man. Okay. So it's a lot. It's a full.
You might watch it first and then follow it up with Sing 1.
Oh yeah.
Or
love a good
last one laughing, like chase it with.
Yeah, you gotta chase it with some lightness.
Yeah, it is something where like the psychological part of it is definitely heavier, but there is one scene that is very gross, but it's gross largely.
It's well done.
But it's well done, and it's gross in that you look and see what she's doing to escape, and you're just like, I don't think I could do that. Like,
there's a lot of things that I think that.
Yeah. So that was a super good one. This I want to talk about because this movie is fucking awesome. And
I don't know enough, but I've heard only good things. So tell me the things that are not spoilers.
So Michael B. Jordan plays twins that are side by side almost the whole movie. And it doesn't look like
Parent Trappy.
It's edited. Yeah, it doesn't look like that. And Daniel, like it is, there is a scene in there that I am not going to spoil, but I was in the theater, and I have trouble watching movies in the theater because there's no subtitles. And I'm partially deaf, so it's really difficult for me to catch a lot of dialogue, especially if there's heavy accents or a lot of whispery shit.
Like Dune style.
Yeah, where it's like, or like if you're watching like fucking Game of Thrones, like Jesus Christ, talk louder, or turn the volume of the music down. Like I can't hear what's being said.
Yeah.
This movie is amazing, and it's a diatribe on racial stuff back in the 1920s. It's not just with Black people, but with Native Americans, and just there's this one scene that just blends a whole bunch of stuff that I had goosebumps while I was watching it. Like it's extraordinarily well done, but the most of it is there's vampires and they have to fight vampires. And it's just so like the movie itself, if they were just doing the racial shit, that would be a movie by itself. And he tied in vampires, and he tied it in it so exceptionally well. I think Delroy Lindo was in it. Yes. And I was just going to say this. He deserves an Oscar for his role in that movie. Like he was unbelievable in that. And he wasn't even a main character. And I can't say enough about this movie. Just go see it in the fucking theater. Please do. See it in the theaters. You won't regret it. Oh, Lauren just dropped. So I don't know what that happened. Let's see if she comes back. So
we'll find out.
Yeah. So ta-da. Way to go, Lauren.
I don't know what I clicked. I
studio
moved a mouse out of the way and I didn't open anything new. I don't know what happened. Sorry.
Well, we've bookended ourselves with technological problems.
This is true. We do our best to really just have a tie through of that.
User error.
I was because you said you just said, and then I disappeared. That you should see it in theaters. Is it like, if you're gonna watch it, is it definitely a like theater? I mean, I know some people are like always see it in theaters versus like at home.
No, this is a theater experience.
For sure, a theater movie.
Yeah, and it's not like there's some bloody stuff, but it's not overly gross. It's not overly like psychological thrillery. It's just, I don't know how to explain it other than see it in theater, and it's excellent. I just know you well enough to know, Lauren, that you don't want to be overly scared, and you won't be, but you will see stuff with it just with all kinds of races that are in the middle of all this shit in the 1920s. And it's just like Coogler does a great job.
I can do things with planning. So this is a like daytime movie matinee situation.
And daytime movie matinees are cheaper. So there's that too.
It really works on all counts.
Okay, all right. So before we go, there's one thing, since fucking Greg brought it up, I guess we're going to be doing this now. All right. So Greg brought up top sheets. All right. So there is this long-standing thing in our show, Julia, where we had this in 2020 was when this started. It was when we were at a Dad 2.0 conference, like literally weeks before COVID shut everything down. We're in Washington, D.C., and we had this giant debate about whether top sheets on a bed were a thing. And some of us were pro top sheets and some of us were anti-top sheets. So my question would be, are you a top sheet person or not? Or do you
What
give
are
a
your
shit?
feelings on the top sheet? And let's be clear, that is a flat sheet, not the fitted
Between
on the mattress.
the comforter or whatever. And
it goes above you.
Yes. I've always, in my adult life, I've always had a top sheet. And I think also as a kid, also always had a top sheet. So yeah, I'm team top sheets. Yeah. I mean, I don't like think it would be weird. I just think it would be really difficult to buy a sheet set and not get a top sheet.
A valid
And
point.
then you'd have to just like have it sit in your closet. So yeah.
No, that's not what you do with it.
Do you make it into a dress?
Doug?
Yeah.
They become paint cloths when you paint stuff, when you paint rooms.
Well, sure. Well, okay. But also, like, you could just use old sheets for that.
Yeah, you could. But
Say it.
What's bad about a top sheet?
Oh, like why would you not use a top sheet?
Yeah.
Because it's uncomfortable and confining to me. But here's the thing: there's an exception to it, and I've always said it's if I'm in a hotel, I'm always using a top sheet because they never wash the fucking things on top.
Yeah.
But at home, I have a comforter that is has a duvet on it, and I wash the duvets regularly, and that's how I get around having a top sheet. Here's the thing: when I have a top sheet, I feel like I am constricted versus if I have like a comforter with a duvet.
Is it because it gets? Do you tangle? Does it tangle?
I toss and turn a lot when I sleep. I'm not a
it's like a thinner. It gets more taut than a blanket.
For sure. Now the other tough part about that is if it's really fucking hot and I'll have my air conditioners in my windows, then I'm warm and I have to stick all kind of like legs and arms outside the thing to keep.
You're cool. Just like blanket and like a starfish.
Oh my God! I have an ally.
Instead, okay. So also,
if you're like a hot sleeper or you roll a lot, it makes sense that you would forego the top sheet.
Okay, I am not a hot sleeper.
You could just use only the top sheet.
I am going against my typical, but like if you're a hot sleeper, okay, I am team top sheet. Okay. Just like with like, I don't know, like even if there's like it feels like it's like no, it's like it's the first line of defense of like cleanliness. Also, I'm a night showerer, so it's clean anyway. But also, I feel like if you're a hot sleeper in that situation, like I'm also a person like I don't want to sleep out in the open. Like that's too vulnerable. Like I want something.
in case the monsters come after
you. You need some level of force field shield, which if it's too hot, like blanket or duvet is too heavy. So at least a sheet is like a thinner, but like shield to the outside world.
Totally gonna protect you. The little sheet,
for sure. Like from all of the nightmares and monsters and whatever's coming into my room at night. It's just enough to like not be easy.
So the thing is, like, because I'm on blood thinners and a million meds, I'm cold most of the time. My wife is hot most of the time because, like I said, menopause. So so she is also team not top sheet, but she also is like, and we also do the thing that is very Scandinavian, where we had each of us have our own
separate
comforters, and then we cover them with duvets, and that's what we do.
Are they like twin sized?
Yes.
Okay. Logistically trying to figure it
out. For us, we do full size because we have a king size bed, and they're a little big.
Sure, you want a little more.
But I when I first get in, I burrito myself, and then I move around, and it all loosens up.
Okay, you burrito yourself, but you don't want to be constricted.
I know it sounds really dumb, but I'm just saying here's the thing. So I burrito myself on one side, I do not on the other, so that when I move, I'm fine.
A taco, if you will.
Yeah,
you're like a hot dog.
Maybe I'm a tostada. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on which side is open, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, it's just like we both are cool with it. And how this spawned was Greg came and stayed at our place before he drove from Wisconsin to my house in upstate New York, and then he and I drove to DC to go to the conference. And he, used one of our bedrooms, and we just had a duvet, and he was just like, "What the fuck, man? You don't have a."
He was like, "What kind of host are you?"
He didn't say it that rude. He was just like, I just don't understand not having a top sheet. And I'm like, because we don't use them. I just save them.
In real time or like later?
That was in real life. No, that was in real life when we were at the conference.
But like, did he tell you while he was there, or did he like hold on to this? And then
no, he said it right there.
Like, where the hell's the top sheet?
So JHG was there, Matt Stream was there. Like, we all talked about it. And Greg posted online in the dad chat, and we had like 50 responses in like 30 minutes. And we're like,
people have feelings.
Apparently. And it's one of these things that like seems so dumb as a human experience. Like, who gives a shit? But at the same time, people have very strong opinions about
a lot of things. I love finding the things that people have strong feelings about that are dumb.
It's low stakes.
Low stakes fight.
Low stakes hot opinion.
I have one of those questions. This is not quite the same, but sort of. For a long time, I would ask people what sock they put on first, because they will live and die by the foot that they put their sock on first.
Oh, well, there's also, do you put both socks on and then put your
Oh,
shoes on?
sock,
Or do you
sock,
put
shoe,
do you
shoe,
sock
or sock,
shoes,
shoe, sock, shoe?
I mean, definitely sock,
You
shoe,
get a
shoe.
sock, shoe, shoe.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Otherwise, like, what are you even doing?
Also,
the time between having one sock and one shoe on and then nothing on the other foot. What if there was like a fire drill and you had to leave
oh my
immediately?
God.
At least you're
my
balanced
God.
with 2 socks. The 2 socks would at least save you from the same level of danger. But like if you sock shoe and then nothing, you could end up like amputated foot on one
Yeah,
side.
it's too much.
Oh my God.
Disaster preparedness.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to say this. This is something my wife would say.
Oh, I can't wait.
So here's the thing. So like I think, and this is gonna sound really dumb, I think women who have to be on like constant alert think that everything's gonna fucking collapse and be really wrong really fast. And guys, most guys don't really
Think about that ever.
think like, oh, the house is on fire. The house is not gonna catch on fire between the time I put my socks and my shoes on. That's
You
not
don't
gonna
know
happen.
that.
All right, the odds are never
okay,
zero. The odds are never
California.
zero. The odds are never zero. But
This is
like,
true. And California, there could be earthquakes. Like tornadoes have warnings, but earthquakes can happen very suddenly.
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. I do not have earthquakes here, so
That's
I do
fair.
not have to worry.
And if
about
you
that.
do, we're really at the end. Which I don't. Okay, so with your which sock do you put on first? I don't always. First of all, I also work from home, so sometimes no socks. So then I'm like,
Perfect.
do I slipper or shoe one? I feel like this is confusing to me. And
Or pant legs? Do you step into pants with one foot?
it's like just no pants ever.
Never.
No, I feel like okay. I don't know why, and I feel like I'm gonna assess this, and I'll message you and keep you updated.
Perfect.
I think that if it's a pant leg or a sock, I feel like I go left first, but I feel like I go shoe right first, or like shoe or slipper, or like shoe mechanism.
Interesting.
But if it's like soft clothing, I feel like I go left, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I go left sock, left shoe, right shoe.
Left, right, left,
Mhm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing: what's weird is I'm right-handed, but I almost everything I start left side.
Me too. I'm right-handed, but everything else is like lefty, and I pick lefty, and I
It's not even
do
like
archery lefty.
Yeah, but it's not an ambidextrous thing. Like I kick with my left foot, and I'm right-handed.
Me too.
I did that, but that was because I had knee things.
Well, that's fair. Mine was just because I preferred my left foot.
Did you like actively you're like, this is my favorite?
It just is like whatever felt more normal. But I think maybe I was supposed to be left-handed, and I just got encouraged to be right-handed. So
that's the thing that happened to my dad.
Cool.
Okay, but also Chinese tradition, like left-handed is like unlucky.
Not
and
a good
he got
thing.
Trained into right-handedness. He had to like chopstick things into a jar.
Yeah, totally. I had a couple years ago for cancer-related things. I had a PICC line in an arm for a week at a time. And I was doing a yoga teacher training, and so I couldn't.
What a terrible time!
Yeah, it was all a bit chaotic. But the kicker for me was, no pun intended, but I had to take notes, and so then I wrote that entire weekend's notes with my left hand, and it was like very squiggly at the beginning, and then it gets like pretty decent
Kind
at
of better.
the end, and I was like
it's legible.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't so bad. The first part looks like I had it like, yeah.
You're like, I'm 3.
Yeah, totally. Not even, honestly, 3-year-old me, my flavor of neurodivergence came out as like having perfect penmanship.
Oh,
so when I was
does it
really
look like a
young,
font?
It did. I'll show you a photo on my personal Instagram a million years ago. I'll send a photo of my spelling test from like.
Yes.
Oh my word.
96.
All right, look at this.
Yeah, wait. This is my dad though, so that makes sense.
Okay, so you're related. It's in there. It's ingrained. But yeah, because you never know.
Hashtag paranoia. Yeah.
I mean, and it also doesn't have to be like disaster prepared. We're just, we're ready for anything.
Well, I also just don't like the feeling of having like a fully naked foot if the other one is like fully dressed. Like I'm like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
too
got
weird.
layers. The other foot
Yeah.
has layers, and your other foot is naked.
Yeah,
But
it's like feels incongruent.
there's actually that I can get because like I wear hearing aids, and if I have one hearing aid in and I don't have the other in, I feel like I am so unbalanced and unsteady.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that because if I don't have hearing aids, I feel fine. My left ear
Huh.
is considerably worse than my right, but I don't feel imbalanced. But if I put a hearing aid in my left and I do put one in my right, I feel just like
Interesting.
like
I
I'm
am
just
currently
going.
one earbud in, but it's also so I can hear the environment around me for if anything
I
should
couldn't
go
do that.
awry.
I can't do
Safety.
that because
Interesting.
also the other thing about that is if you are hard of hearing, when you are talking to people, your focus is so focused.
That's fair.
Like I can't not like if
I
I
respect
have
that.
yeah like
Yeah, like
if
no,
I
I like need to do this.
but that's the thing is like sometimes it's what's funny is my poor wife will be like talking to me and I'm like trying to move to go do something and I will just I'm not ignoring her. I just forget that I sometimes can't hear. And if I'm in another room, I definitely can't hear. So there'll be times when she'll repeat something 3 times. I'm like, listen, I'm very sorry, but you're going to have to repeat that one more time. And sometimes she'll be frustrated, and other times she'll laugh. But like there's an unbalance. I could understand the shoe imbalance.
Like there's something about the weight.
Get into that.
It's like the weight and the constriction and the sensory feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I relate to that because like I am a sock shoe person. So like again, balance as quickly as possible. But also I feel like I'm heavily neurotypical in a lot of the ways, but there are some random things. One of my favorite questions to ask people, which I don't know if we've done here and we can do next if you'd like, and if we have time, but is what's something you're weirdly particular about? Not a pet peeve, not about other people, you yourself. And one of my weirdly particular things is that like I have like random ones. So like I don't think that I'm whatever. It doesn't matter. One of my weirdly particular things is that like I feel like I'm like I specifically shoes with laces. When it's like an imbalanced shoelace situation, but I think it's also because I played sports like basketball or soccer, which is like hard stops that like if it's not close enough to the same, I'm like, oh my God, I have to fix this.
Yes.
Oh.
Dishwasher Tetris, 10 out of 10. Optimal load pattern.
Agreed. But also different people's optimal load.
Yeah.
But I know. I was like, where do the soups utensils up or utensils down?
Half up, half down.
What? Do you just randomly throw them in? They're up, they're down.
You're like that?
No, it depends. Because our new dishwasher, since I'm in a rental, is a piece of shit. And
as it happens,
the little whatever
like tray
compartment is smaller than it used to be. And so if you put them all down, which is how we used to have it, there's just not enough space.
They like get stuck.
They just get stuck together. And so then you kind of have to do some of them upside down.
Okay.
So that like the forks are up and the spoons are down. So they're not all.
Okay. Follow-up question, because I have to know. Do you do like, is it like spoons down, forks up? Or is it like you do a bunch down until you can't and then you do them up? Exactly.
Yeah. Because then if you can get a load in where they're all down, excellent. Because then you don't have to touch them. It's annoying to take them out when they're up. So then you have to touch them.
Okay. So here's, as a person, I'm willing to be wrong. I usually go hand holding part down. What is that called? The
stem.
The
handle
part.
Yeah.
The handle.
The handle, whatever.
The handle
the handle part down makes sense because it gets more like.
I feel like the part that's dirty needs more air space.
Yes.
But
water flow.
I'm willing to be told why down is a better choice. I mean, I get that it's like an easy put away situation.
It's just when you put it away, you don't
like when you put it and then put it in and then take it away, it's like an easier process. But yeah.
That's really the only. But there's a lot of the dishwashers that have those little individual slots, and then they all go up because they go in the slots.
Oh, where there's like little.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
That's also okay.
Chaos.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not going to do that right now.
Also, the patent explains a specific direction, so I'm gonna just say that.
Yeah, that is fair. All right, so mine is going to be not related. It's going to be when I am
Okay.
cooking, I want to be cooking by myself.
No,
I am, because I want to, like, there's like a sort of zen is kind of ludicrous to say it, but there's sort of I'm in my element
There's a
and I'm just
flow.
doing it. There's a
Yeah.
flow to what I'm doing, and
intention and purpose.
yes, and I'm doing it, and there is like something very therapeutic about me cooking. I'm cutting vegetables, I'm doing all the stuff, and I'm just making it, and I'm really doing. And to me, I'm a person who really, really likes taking care of others, and cooking is one of the things that make that work for me. Is I am taking care of. All right, well, what do you want to eat? Let's make it. I'll make it. And I just go, whatever it is, I don't give a shit. I'll make it, and I'll make it, and I'll make it as good as I can.
But
And
lovingly, do not help me.
yeah, like there's times when I'm in the middle of something, and like Jill will be like, "Hey, blah blah blah," and I'm like, and she's like, "Sorry, I'm not supposed to be in here," and like sort of sarcastic, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm just sort of
I am in the zone.
I'm in a groove, and I'm getting through, and then usually it's fine, and then once I get to a point where I'm like, okay, this is fine. Like, all right, so what's up? And then I talk, but that is a weird-ish thing. Although I don't think it's all that weird. I give I am not a Tetris person with a dishwasher. I load them as best I can. My wife is like, I'm going to maximize every square inch of this dishwasher, and I'm like, awesome, you do that. I'm great. I hate doing dishes. You can do them every fucking time, and I'll fold laundry till the cows come home. I don't care. She hates folding laundry, so that's kind of how we roll. But yeah,
Everybody picks and chooses.
I have a follow-up question for you with your leave me alone while I'm cooking. To each their own on like whatever holidays, but like when there's like larger holiday gatherings, which oftentimes in America is Thanksgiving or like a winter holiday, everybody family gathering, whatever that might mean, and there's like many dishes happening. Do you do a lot of cooking, or is it like potluck and bring it and do not be in the kitchen?
Generally, I will cook most everything. And
you're really like no.
But what I will do is be like, hey, Jill, can you make this? And she'll be like, yeah, great. And then we'll work in space. There's not that I can't work in it, but if I'm just making stuff for my wife and I, or me, my wife, and our daughter who happen to be home from school, just get out of the kitchen, go talk and have fun and hang out.
You all catch up. I'm gonna do this.
And my daughter is a verbal processor, and my wife is loves
okay
talking to her. So, and I'm like, great, so do that, and that's all good, and it's not a problem. And if they do come in and they're talking, I will have headphones on, and I'll be listening to whatever I'm listening to, and I don't even hear them because
do you cook generally with headphones or like listening to something
all the time. Audiobooks, podcasts. That's usually what I'm doing.
Me too.
Okay, not music. Audiobooks or speaking
not
words.
Music too often. Breakfast is music time. That's the time that I will have
chill vibe.
I do a lot of music, but because I don't like love cooking, what I did a lot of is I would save certain podcasts I was only allowed to listen to it while I was cooking, so that if I wanted to listen to an episode, then I had to be cooking. So
you're forcing your hand there. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
A sneaky habit situation.
But sometimes I love just a good playlist, and I'm like, yeah, just gonna crank up.
It does. Playlists do have their like how Doug, you were talking about like breakfast mood, like food being moods, like breakfast mood versus like dinner. Like no, I got like stuff to chop and like there's plans here.
Breakfast is generally a lot less chopping.
Well, chiller.
Like dinner is always a lot of prep work for me. So, and I am also a person when I cook, I prep everything before I start, and everything's ready to go. I don't prep as I go. My wife can do that. I multitask at work enough. I can't do that shit when I'm cooking. So
real mise en place
all day long.
Love it. Yeah, it is very helpful for being able to just like, now it's this step.
Yeah. So.
Helpful. Love it.
All right. So, Julia, anything else you want to
Oh my goodness.
tackle?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I know it's dark, fully dark outside.
It's been fully dark since I started. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Time zones.
We just caught up with you. Yeah. No, I'm like, we talked about so many amazing things.
Covered a lot of the ground.
Like all of the, here's a question as I make my flowcharts and PDFs and like in the digital organizing world or end of life planning world or just exploring death and dying world, what would be helpful? Like, is there anything that'd be helpful where you're like, I wish this thing existed?
For your end of life stuff?
Yeah, like if I just have like free stuff to give out to people, like PDFs and information.
One of the things would be that I can think of is just the difference between the different kinds of trusts. If that's something you want to do, but I'm sure you can find that stuff, and if you have it already, that's great. But just I know
you are a trusted person and find trusted resources.
Another one is the idea of power of attorney, and that matters. Like, my brother. My mom has his power of attorney for him to help him make decisions because he can't verbalize a lot of things. And end of life things like, do you want to be revived, or things like that. And those are all things that are hard questions in the moment. But if you're prepared, and I'm sure you have a lot of this stuff already, Julia, it's just this is what I'm thinking off the top.
No, it's great. I love hearing what people are curious about.
I was going to say, I think Daniel said this, and I kind of agree. Like, there's, again, you as a trusted human that I support and believe, again, in like non-law ways. Checklists in the sense of like what are the things that like you don't know what you don't know, right? So it's like, what are the things where it's like, if it's like the passport and the birth certificate and like the social security, whatever, like what are here are the documents that you should make sure you have copies of. Like, here's the other like whether it's paper, like if it is a will and a trust, and like here are different things that you can consider, like this is probably the most required, but like these are optional, but other things. I feel like that's a big one for me, just because yes, I can Google, but also it's like the access and the danger
information
of like
overload.
You're like, it's all out there, but like I don't know whose information is good information. So like you as a source that I believe generally most of the time, I feel like if you had one, I'd be like, oh, I believe her. Like I feel like you would do a good job to like make sure it's a good resource versus like Chat GPT, the internet for me.
Yeah, Jesus.
So like that, like a checklist of sorts. And also like, I'm sure it's different for different people, but it's a thing that like I can't even wrap my head around. But like even if it's like some level of like version of prioritization, like again, like will versus trust versus like copies of whatever, like very first thing, like do you have beneficiaries listed on your bank accounts, like versus getting a will or a trust put together, like do that. Like some of the like really basic things, just to like basic checklists, like these are things you can do without notarization, without
no lawyer needed.
Versions of checklist types of thing, because like I feel like that's where I'm at, where like I know there's things and I know it's important, but because it doesn't feel urgent in the sense of I want to make sure that who is taken care of after me, I'm like, I don't know who that is. I care about people, but like that it's just like I don't know, like there's too many things and I don't know where to start. So like priority and checklist, just of like, even if this is maybe more important, but like, oh, I know somebody who deals with this, so like that's another thing that I could get taken care of. It feels so basic, but also again for the people who are not in it, like are so useful. This happens in like I feel like every profession, the basic things that you're like, yeah, this is just like obviously, like it's not obviously.
Yeah, it's not obviously. Yeah.
So yeah, those are my thoughts. I love the idea of a flow chart. So, like you were talking about, where it's just like, if you want to do this, do you think this or this? If this is the thing, here's the thing. Like if there's like a interactive part that I like about that, but also is thorough and whatever.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
So this thing is something Daniel Daniel was talking about, this is something I was going to get to, is passwords and all that stuff for things
Password
like
management system.
so like I take care of a lot of our finances, but
Yeah.
I have a spreadsheet with IDs and passwords for everything we have.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't also have like a place like for digitally where I'm putting it where I know my wife can get it.
Yes.
And
1Password is my high recommendation because you can have a family plan and share it with your family, but you can also
So as
have
an
private
account-
vaults so that you have.
account platform.
Yes, it's a password management system. And I've been using it for 10 years now, I think. But what's really excellent is not only can you create logins and super secure passwords and then it auto fills it, but you can, like, if I have in my bank account, I have a list of all the things that are on auto pay using that credit card. Like, you can put a credit card into the password management system, like the number and the address, and then have a list. And then you can also just have secure notes in there. That's just like a Word doc, but it's in 1Password. And you can write every single whatever you need to do, like any account that you could think of that has your like address on it, so that when you move, you know exactly what you need to
I just
update.
went through that. Where I'm
I
like,
was
oh
just
my
going to
God.
say that.
It's been rough. From like, I did like
It
the
is.
change your address, and like in theory, you get the things that have been forwarded where you're like, oh, I should tell them my address now. But there's so much out there these
It's
days.
so much. It's a
That's
lot.
a good
And if
point.
you just kind of keep the running list, you just add to it over time, and
That's a good point.
keeps itself together.
You love a good management system.
Hmm. But I recommend
Yeah,
the actual system.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that was one of the things where, like, after my heart attack, I was like, okay, well, I need to make sure you have access to like things like life insurance. Like, I have life insurance. How do
Totally.
you access that if you don't have the information? How do you contact? How do you access it? Like, I want to make sure if I go, like, all my life insurances gets dispersed where it needs to go. And if they don't have information, how do they get that? So
Totally.
Yeah.
So this was deep but funny and good time. And Julie, I want to thank you for popping on here with us for 3 hours. Like, I didn't expect it to go as long. Been fun.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Lauren, thanks for bringing Julie into the fold, and we'll definitely have you back. We'll have you back when Greg's on here too, because I know when he found out what you did, he was like, "Oh man, I have a lot of things I want to."
Sorry, Greg. Last minute.
I know.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks again, and
Thank
we're
you so much.
really glad you be here, and we'll definitely have you on again.
I look forward to it.
Yep. Cheers, folks. Take care.
Thank you.